Sure.
It's time. It's the intro. Intro. And then move to main, and then the little animation comes in, and there we are. And we're back. We didn't happen last week. I wasn't in the mood. I've not really had the best of weeks, really, to be honest with you. I went to the doctors and found out that my face is basically never going to heal back as good as ever was, so I'm working it. I've got to basically smith my face into being at least operable. So yeah, I've spent a lot of my time trying to cope with a lot of the problems that come up with this. Can't drink so well, can't talk so well. And as you try and massage all this crap around, your face contorts into something completely different. And so you have to get used to that every week. It's really strange. How was your week, though? Are you able to eat things? Was that nice? Fuckers.
Yes.
Yeah, right now I'm coin
I'm eating
operated.
right now.
But yeah, I thought I'd start this one basically just looking at British and American politics exploding right now. We've got President Trump, who's gone rogue, I think some people have described at this point. Like going and just basically shaking down the Ukrainian. As far as I knew, this was the guy who was he was like the Jon Stewart of the Ukraine, wasn't he? He was like this sort of Saturday night comedian or something like that, and then he ran for office. Is this the same guy?
I don't even know who the guy is. I don't know.
I'm sure it
I'll
was
be honest.
a Ukrainian guy.
I'm not like the only thing that I know about this new drama in the U.S. is whatever Stephen Colbert covered, because I just don't care anymore. I just want to laugh at it, and he's funny, so why not?
To me, the funniest
Yeah,
article.
it is this guy. It is this guy. This guy was actually a TV comedian, and then he became the president of the Ukraine. So he's basically the Ukraine's version of Jon Stewart.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Trump has turned up there. This is the guy who wanted to like get rid of corruption and all that sort of business. He went on that ticket, and in comes Trump, kind of going, "I want you to be corrupt for me."
And then he was like, okay.
Oh man. I think my favorite headline was from CNN that said, if Trump wants to stop the impeachment trial of him, he must shut up. Like that's the advice. Like, dude, keep your mouth shut. You're just giving people evidence.
Well, the horrible thing for this guy is it puts him in a hell of a peculiar position, because I don't know about you or me, but $300 million worth of military aid, as we like to call it. If you listen to them, they're actually buying this. But $300 million of military aid would be quite useful when you've got Russia on your border trying to eke into your territories right now. So, talk about rock in a hard place.
Yeah. I don't want to start war with Russia.
Yeah.
But
So what would you do if you were him? You're literally being attacked by Russia this moment. You need military assistance and aid. And you've got the guy who's got his finger literally on the fucking till. And kind of going, dude, can you do me a favor? It's like...
You know what?
on.
That's a good point. Like I was essentially taking a position that, you know, he had no principles, but it's a lot different when you're actually in the shit. You know
Oh
what
yeah,
I mean?
it's easy for people to say like all politicians are corrupt. And you what people don't understand is they kind of go, no, you've got to understand the difference in how. The idea of compromise is a corruption for some people, you see.
Yeah.
So that's the problem for a lot of people. That's what they don't understand. I can't get everything that I want.
I can change my mind, guys. It is a possibility. You just have to be smart and present your ideas in a coherent fashion.
To me, it's still like people are still bringing up, oh, Hillary would have started a war with Russia. It's like, well, Trump is not aiding Ukraine against Russia, so what are you going to do? Trump is a genius.
Well,
Okay.
Well, this is the thing. This has been withheld ahead of time.
I think actually now that I think about it, it's a smart move for the Ukraine because I mean they can't pretend that they're Russia. They have to be aware of the fact that they are Ukraine and they're on the back foot.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose this is a bit like James when Comey was talking to him, and he's sort of like kind of going, "I'd like, are you a loyal person?" He's like, "What?" I think I'm going to answer around that, if you don't mind, sir.
You're a loyal person.
You don't. Yeah, it's like, okay, that's really awkward. What do you think you're doing here? So everybody's in that sort of a vein here when they're talking to Trump. They're sort of like kind of going, I'm not going to direct... Okay, we're going to have to talk indirectly in some sort of weird code, are we? Okay. Little bit odd.
Yeah, it's almost like he's trying to hide all the fucking shit he's doing. Like all the, power he's abusing and stuff like that.
Like when the news broke for me personally, I didn't even flinch. It was just like, oh yeah, he finally got caught. Surprise, surprise. It's just a matter of time with people like Trump, because it's like, take it from somebody who used to shoplift in his youth, right? The reason you keep doing it isn't because you're malicious or evil or anything like that. It's just because you can get away with it.
Hang on, it's not just that. It's not just that. Maliciousness does come into it.
Yeah, to a certain degree. But what I'm saying is that part of the motivation is that if you just keep on going through the motion, it becomes habitual. And sorry, I'm having a beer. I'm getting a little pickled.
Okay.
So it
Got
becomes
to watch yourself. Pascal's had a
where
beer. I'm going to open up to the communists.
I'm in the store, right? And all of a sudden it's like, at first it was like, wow, I'm just gonna grab this, put it in my pocket because it's kind of naughty. It's a naughty thing to do. And my friends are naughty.
Mine, oh mine.
And like with my friends, it was sort of a validation exercise, right? It was kind of like we're part of the pack and we're doing shit that isn't necessarily kosher.
We're doing the wrong thing for kicks, man. Rebels without a cause.
As time progressed, I became a lot more sloppy in the methods that I used. It's like, yeah, I do this now. This is me. This is who I am. So I just take shit, put it in my pocket, and leave. Eventually, I got caught, and I went to court, and I had to face a judge, which was sort of a rude awakening for me, and how I essentially.
Well, you had a rude judge. Is that what you're saying?
No. They
you
were
asleep
very
at the
polite.
time. You were sitting there and kind of going, "Wake up!" And it's like, "Oh, rude."
Yeah, it was a wake up call.
Oh,
it was
okay.
like, "Hey, dumbass, stop doing this." And I was just, had enough of a guilt trip.
I didn't expect the judge to say that.
I had enough of a guilt trip with my parents too, and my friend, like his dad was a lawyer too.
Yeah. Well, I hope you learned a lesson. Never, ever, ever get caught.
So with Trump, it kind of comes from the same angle, because like he's living from this very privileged, this very isolated, this very socially stunted experience. So when he's sort of pulling this crap with like people like Ukraine, he just thinks it's business as usual.
This is just like corrupting politicians. It's like, no, dude, you're the president now. You're no longer the businessman on the sideline giving money to the president to give you loopholes.
It's because he's gotten away from it. With it for so long that he becomes sloppy in the long run. That's essentially why I was always, sort of like not surprised.
I always look at it as malevolent incompetency, because people always sort of like they're kind of going, oh, they might not be evil, they might just be stupid. It's like they can be evil and stupid.
I agree.
Well, I mean,
this is a prime example of that, really, as a man who has got away with this because he's got fixers around him all the time. And he's expecting sort of like his intelligence agents around him to just fix this. As though this is like the times when like Kennedy is getting assassinated and shit. He just thinks that he just thinks that that's what's going on there. I mean, this is a guy who used to go onto conspiracy channels and shit. He's now the president of that country, and that's what he thinks is going on there, you see. And this is his rude awakening, is that actually we're not quite what you think it's going on in the films. Those are movies.
Yeah, you do realize that's fiction.
Yeah,
That's not
there's
real
nothing in
life.
Area... Sir, Area 51 is an airbase. What do you think we do there? I bet you the first day he got there, he kind of goes, right, show me the aliens. And they're like, oh, okay, sir. We've got this
Oh,
tape.
fuck.
Yeah, we've got it on VHS. Here you go. Sir, there are no aliens. Do you understand now? They're really far away. This is the bit, everybody, you know, I was talking to somebody about, do you believe in aliens? And I'm sitting there kind of going, what do you mean? What does believing in aliens mean? Because when somebody says that, it's like kind of going, what, you know, there's a big tent, isn't it? You know? Do you believe in aliens? Okay, statistically, maybe aliens will exist. So they're here then? No! Whoa! And I'm seeing a lot of this, of like the trickle of logic that somebody requires in order to believe in this massive conspiracy. You know? And it's like, we're looking, like, a little of what you were describing with this guy is you're instantly assuming that he can be corrupted. And it's true. Because why wouldn't you? Like I said, you've got $300 million worth of equipment there that could save your fucking life. And you've got a guy there shaking you down for shit. What are you going to do? Imagine, that's your kids.
Lesser of two evils, right? It's
like, that's your kids in front of a fucking mobster right now. What are you going to do? Yes, boss. That's what you're going to fucking do. You keep your head down and hope it goes away. Anything for an easier life, innit? That's what these people run on. That's the intimidation. And so, well, like I said, I said this guy was a mob boss. This is not a mob boss really, just sort of like a person who understands that there's a certain underworld within New York that's required to get buildings done. Let's say, if you want to call it that. He's a businessman, you know? He's a businessman in the shruggingest possible way. You know? That kind of businessman, you know? I know, he's a good friend of mine. He's that kind of businessman, you know? And that's why nobody goes to his golf clubs. Because everyone knows he's fucking bent.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are, you know, I think we're going through that little key point of, weirdly, that the US and the UK are going through these almost simultaneous times, really.
I agree.
Yeah, because like with the Trump thing and the Brexit thing, it's all coming out from this particular arm of, it's almost like a bacterial infection at the moment going on, isn't it? You know? And it's become quite virile. But now it's starting to sort of like lose its, everyone's starting to get a bit more immune to it. And they're like, okay, mate, yeah.
If I would have had to be the translator for Boris Johnson's UN address, I would have literally fucking killed myself. Like, I would have just, like, opened up my jugular and arterial spray all over the walls.
Yeah, what the fuck was this man talking about? You know, it's just like, this is like the most blusterifiest bluster I've ever heard in my life. Did you write this down, Boris? Or are you just waxing fucking lyrical?
Wasn't that bad? I haven't watched it.
Oh, yes.
Go... I can't.
No,
I can't.
No, dude, no. I
can't describe it.
I can't subject myself to that cancer. So
I can't describe it.
No,
you know, these people have lost it.
I'll believe you.
I mean, we saw, for example, Michael Gove sort of turning up to Parliament absolutely hammered. The guy was pissed off his head. Cause these guys, you know, there's sort of like Paul Ryan apparently has been reportedly gone off to Rupert Murdoch and told him to basically prepare for the end of Trump. I mean, Trump's walking out in front of the UN. You thought Boris Johnson's was mental. You listen to this other guy, and it sounds like he's just about to overdose. The guy sounds a little miserable. Let's say Trump was not at his most high energy. Let's say that. They're at this point now that they've got themselves into this pickle, and now they can't get themselves out, and it's all going to start falling down at this point. I mean, Boris Johnson basically is trying to push for a general election as early as possible, because it's September, and so students and whatnot don't have any. They haven't really got themselves set up properly, address-wise, all that sort of thing. So call a snap election and get that out of the way, and then it'd be fine, right? And everyone's like kind of going, "Nah, mate, we ain't playing your game." And then the Conservative Party start fucking throwing KFC's memes at people like chicken. It's like, really? It's like loads of people are kind of going, "That's wow, that's pretty low level shit at this point, guys." You know, you're like into the 14-year-old pornage industry right now. You know, you can use that if you like. Yes, I prefer. At this point, the anti-SJW crowd and all the Carls and whatnot, they are just in the pornage industry. This is it. You know, pornage porn. You know, all they've got at this point. Doesn't this annoy you that they're annoyed?
Yeah, but they can't pwn anybody that they're not. Without just doing it on their own platform.
There's
so
all
they
all
to debate with like somebody and they just get annihilated. It's pretty remarkable.
Or people don't bother to invite them to debates because what's the fucking point? You invite Carl over, all he does is fucking shout about feminism. You invite Porters and Watson over, and all he does is fucking stare at the camera with this creepy face and then go, "Oh, the evil SJWs."
But that doesn't matter. Isn't a debate point.
Unless they're debating
Please learn,
socialists,
Carl.
then socialists kind of walk into the straw man that like Carl sets up for them pretty nicely. I've seen this happen between it was Nick Fuentes, Carl Benjamin with Destiny, Stephen Bonnell, and Hassan, and Hassan just like went full retard.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
What? Carry on. What do you mean full retard?
He started defending like the strawman that Nick Fuentes and Carl Benjamin was placing in terms of socialism.
What was he saying?
Like just typical right-leaning memes. Like, God, I can't come up with like an example because I'm a little pickle.
Okay.
If I had to think about it, I could probably come up with one. But it's a good sort of like exposition. You can watch it on Destiny's channel if you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with me. I don't, a lot of the chatter around the subject doesn't interest me as much as it used to.
Yeah, no,
I'm more interested in the actual subject itself.
I agree.
It's and you've got this sort of like this weather around the weather kind of thing going on, isn't it? That you see.
Yeah, you like to cut through the bullshit and just get to the nitty gritty of the subject.
Well, at least I mean, as I'm understanding it right now, if we have a look at this, I'm seeing this on a sort of like a decade-long wave, and you're seeing basically a rather childish sort of view of politics being talked down to from a slightly less childish version, which is now being usurped by the adults in the room, and they don't like it. But there's enough of them to be arsehole enough to sort of put enough people off from getting involved, if you see what I mean. If that makes sense. Probably not. It's an overarching storyline I'm seeing with this. Because it's like the pornage bunch have picked up as much, sort of low-lying fruit as they can, to the point where basically they've run out now, and so they're reaching for a ceiling that's basically tamping them down on this particular front. Okay. They're not political masterminds here. It's the people who use the word basic economics to describe economics. Those sort of people. Well, it's basic economics, isn't it? It's like you're going to use basic economics it's like national economics. You're going to go with basic. Are you sure? Did you get past 10? There is like economics 102 as well. Supply and demand. Yeah. And
get beyond that.
And you see this with, it's it's very basic arguments and then just driven home with bluster. It's probably the best way to describe it. And it's coming to this point of like, if I can annoy you enough, then I'm right. If I can piss you off enough, then I'm right because you've gone. You know?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's surviving at this point. It's that sort of sentiment is falling down, sort of politically speaking, at this point.
Well, it just creates like two teams, right? And you're either rooting for the people who want the hot dog stand to have a purple theme, and people who want the hot dog stand to have a red theme.
Well, I think that's one way of looking at it. I think that's actually being purposefully pushed by one particular side. What's going on is that, if you imagine there's a lot of people who really can't stand the idea of class warfare, except they're happy to do class warfare as long as nobody's watching. You know?
Shout outs to Red Dwarf. It had a great first season and everything else sucked.
I disagree, but... I mean, unless you're talking about the American version of Red Dwarf.
Well, you'd be wrong.
The American version of Red Dwarf was awful. Did you see that?
I watched the British version of Red Dwarf. And I used to watch that shit. It would come on at 2 a.m. My time, while I was in high school. Do you think I decided to go to sleep so I could have a fresh day as a responsible, student? No, I fucking watched Red Dwarf.
Yeah, Seb, we're talking about neither Johnson or Sargon. We're actually talking about Red Dwarf. So if you want to come on.
I went to bed, and then I woke up the next day, and I was a little tired. So what I had to do was get myself some coffee. But it took too much time to actually make a cup of coffee. So all I did was I took a spoonful of instant, and I just downed it.
That's nasty.
It is. I wouldn't recommend.
I've only snorted coffee once, and I never did it again, because that's nasty and wrong and shouldn't happen.
I agree. Don't do that, chat.
Yeah, it's a little bit on the diuretic side at that point. It literally says add water. You're adding water. The water in your body. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know which. I mean, I've seen a lot of people that are talking about like Boris Johnson being sort of, put in jail and all this sort of business. And I'd like to just for a minute, at least, just please identify the difference between something being illegal and being unlawful. If, let's say, a police officer arrests you and doesn't read you your rights, okay, that was an unlawful arrest. That does not mean that the police officer has to go to jail. Now, if the police officer rapes you, but still reads you your Miranda rights, that's illegal, okay? And he should go to jail if he wasn't obviously an American policeman. What I'm saying is that what Boris Johnson did was unlawful. That does not mean he's going to be trialed at The Hague. Just want to make that distinction nice and clear for some people. Not quite sure why everyone's so hyperbolic on this one. It's like, take him to jail! It's like, no! It's not how it works. He was trying to do something lawful, and it wasn't. It's been mooted.
Which act of his behaviour are you calling unlawful?
So, that was my one and only beer. Do you think I should get more?
Yeah, of course. The more the merrier. But, yeah, so, like I said, Boris is in a little bit of trouble here, because he's now openly lying about what his reasonings were for the prorogation at this point. So it's all getting a bit confused. Because normally we have politicians actually being, they have to be, by law, truthful while in office. So he actually was, you have to do from what I understand, a civil suit for this. So somebody has to take him to court for this now. Which is going to cost a lot of money. They already just took him for court for lying in office beforehand, but that was taken out of court because he wasn't doing it in the sake of the office, if you will. in this case, yeah, he is lying in office. He has said to the Queen, we need to do prorogation for this reason, and then has now admitted openly on the news and to everybody that the reason he did the prorogation was, and the reason that the prorogation should stand, is to do with Brexit. And is blaming Brexiters for it not happening. And it's like, well, dude, what do you think that means?
Actually, in a strange way, he hasn't admitted the prorogation is to allow Brexit. He's saying that blocking the prorogation is blocking Brexit.
Well, that's implied by what he's saying.
But there are a lot of people arguing that stupid point. Genuinely arguing it and saying it like it's an intelligent thing.
Have you not spotted him? Has he, like, the guy has been writing in papers, or has he stopped that now that he's Prime Minister?
I think he's still doing it.
Jesus fucking Christ, do you think he wouldn't have the time to do that? You know?
Well, he has had his technology lessons. That'll have helped him.
Fucking God. Yeah, could somebody explain to Habib what happened here? Because you didn't see this, did you, Habib?
No, I've been busy the last couple of weeks.
Right, basically...
Back in a moment.
An American friend of his who, well, I'm not saying she's of ill repute or anything, but she does have a pole in her flat, as in a pole dancing pole. And Boris used to go around during the day and get technology lessons from her. She then applied for a grant from he was Lord Mayor. He was the Mayor of London at the time. Applied for a grant from the mayoral office, startup grant, and would you believe it? She got it. She actually got £100,000 to start for a startup. Now there are certain things about the grants when you get startup grants. One is you have to remain based in London. Well, she's fucked off back to it's either California or Florida, I forget which, but the office still exists. But when you phone phone the number, it's an 020 number, which is London. The person on the other end of the phone says, "G'day, I'm from America. Where are you speaking from?" "California." Basically, she took the money and run.
Great investment.
Oh my God.
I do need to point out one potential thing about her. Due to her age and complexion, we are not sure if it's a daughter or a mistress.
Oh God.
Normally that's a very easy question, but with Boris Johnson it's a bit complicated. There is speculation that the possibility is both.
And that's not all he's done this week. There's also Boris's own sister broke this one. He's under a lot of pressure from his people who have sponsored him, backers or whatever you want to call them, who are basically shorting on the pound, shorting on British industry, shorting on shares, so that when the pound crashes out on a no-deal Brexit, they'll make a killing. One of them, conservative estimate on this is one person, £300 million.
Do you still
Yeah,
do you
seems
still have
reasonable.
do you still have the capability of playing video and streaming it, Robin? Is that set up?
What do you mean?
I think Robin is AFK.
Oh, okay. I'll ask him when he comes back.
This has now been confirmed by what was his name? At least two other sources. One of them being a bloke who I think it was Lord McFarland, something like that, who happens to be one of the Treasury. He works in the Treasury. He's rather good at stuff like this. That's been his job for like years. And he said, "Yep, that's what he's doing."
Okay.
Nice, isn't it?
We can always look on the positive
It's been
news.
fun.
Spitting Image is coming back.
Yeah, I saw that.
All right.
It's going to be a very short program with Trump in it, though, isn't it? There's even newspapers already call it. Is it the Boston Globe are calling for Trump to resign? sod impeachment, resign, mate. Because he's thrown Barr under the bus. Rudy's throwing himself under anything he can do. Who else has he's done 3 or 4 people. One of the people that Rudy Giuliani chucked under the bus resigned. So,
It's just been fun over there.
It's like it's like Britain and the US are in competition to see who can be the biggest arsey numpty.
And
every time
the only news that I kind of followed with the U.S. is now the release with of the Joker, and for a nation that keeps claiming that guns keep making them safer, there are no quivering in fear because watching a movie might get them shot, and I just find it fascinating.
Wait. Guns make them safer, but movie releases get you shot.
I'm really not on board.
Yeah, because
for having an origin story. I think it sort of hurts.
it's not canon. It's not canon. It's not
I
canon.
know.
Don't worry about it.
I think it just hurts the mysticism of the character itself. But I'm glad there's a movie
And
that does it.
from what I heard, like from the early screenings back in August, there was a hint, but I'm not sure until I watch it. I'm gonna watch it on the 30th this month. I think it was the IGN review that said the multiple paths give you a view of what goes inside his mind. So there might be multiple truths even in that, like multiple stories that he's telling. Like maybe one of them is the origin story. But
so
it's just such a throw.
He's the narrator of
Go ahead.
the architect of the story, or
I'm not sure. Like I said, it's just one of those throwaway lines that maybe they didn't notice that they wrote it down. But it's like the multiple possibilities or the multiple paths. He said something like that about describing the movie. I'm like, wait, the movie has multiple paths? What do you mean? And they never said anything about it, and I just kept reading more and more reviews, and no one even mentioned it, and I was upset. So
yeah, look,
It's
I'm never gonna get upset at a movie that decides to take something and try something new. I've kind of grown out of that.
I mean, it's Joaquin Phoenix. I fucking love that actor.
I've posted up a link to the spitting image puppets.
I know. You know things are getting bad when that happens. Isn't it really?
I honestly don't know how Spitting Image is going to parody the stuff. It's just going to be a factual TV program.
Mark
this time
Zuckerberg
around.
looks really good. I love the Mark Zuckerberg one. It looks perfect, man.
Are
Hey,
you?
by the way, Robin, did you read that tweet from Britain versus Spain?
Yeah, I was the one that sent it. Hello. So you were saying Focus Break? Or was it Pascal?
I was saying that I'll be right back.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I'm asking if you still have the capability of streaming video with audio for the audience, because I think the UN address for Boris Johnson would definitely be something that people need.
Oh, when he goes on about cauliflowers
Oh God.
and Florida oranges. I mean, it's even funnier because most of the oranges come from Brazil.
Yes,
but
but
hey,
what about the mattresses that record your nightmares?
And like, I'm one to talk
called a cat.
because our world leader was caught in a bit of a fiasco himself, having not being able to help himself, just sort of putting on brown face for whatever fucking reason.
Yeah, but who hasn't done blackface in today's politics? I mean, that should be the smallest issue going.
No, it's not.
20. It was 20 years ago, mate.
It's very French Canadian, okay? Because French Canadians, growing up,
Here come the excuses.
You will not see a brown person in.
You will not see a brown person. Is that what you people do? Is that why there's none there?
In higher education, that sort of thing. It's when you get to the actual job market where it's like, wow, man, I didn't realize there was this entirely other part of the world. So it sort of desensitizes you to the plights of the rest of the world and why this is not a good look for anybody. And anybody who downplays this, go fuck yourself, honestly. No, he decided to don brown face. He should have resigned. That's essentially the position that I'm taking on that, because like it's not realistic for the representative of a nation to sort of go and try to play this down and just say, yeah, it's really stupid and I'm sorry. Because one of the things that I suggested to Saturday Night Live, it's like, why not make a sketch where you have Justin Trudeau with the Indian Prime Minister and he's dancing like an idiot and all of a sudden he falls face first into a chocolate cake and that creates another incident. I think that would be a good
Not again.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time he goes out, he sort of like has some sort of chocolate eclair that gets on his face.
Or he falls asleep in the tanning booth.
Goes into a coal mine, you know. All kinds of different avenues here.
But I wasn't downplaying. I was just saying, as English-speaking world leaders go, that's like the least scandalous scandal to happen this year.
Yeah,
I get it, but
And that
like,
should be the worrying bit.
Yeah, that is quite a
It's-
worrying bit when that's basically you're sitting there kind of going, not that bad.
it's like
Seen worse.
it's sort of like the white guy stupidity that goes around. You ever see the movie Get Out? Get Out is a perfect movie to watch as a white person because it gets you to feel uncomfortable about yourself.
Oh, that
and
sounds like a really entertaining evening.
Everything that you've ever done around your brown friends is in Get Out.
What?
Every little embarrassing thing that you've said, everything that you've kind of, and it's sort
What
of
have
like,
you done? Because, like, you know.
no, it's just little things. It's very little sort of social things, like how when you're hanging out with a black person, like you start bringing up like Tiger Woods and how much of an
You
impressive
do
athlete he
you?
is.
Do you do that, do you?
I've done
Why?
that, yeah.
Why do you do that?
Why?
Why would you do that?
Because I was socially like retarded to the fact that like this was a thing that white people did.
Oh god, no, that's not what white people do. That's what you did. I'm a white
sorry,
person. I
but-
managed to avoid that.
Okay.
Why
Okay,
do you
I'm
bring
using
up
the
random-
sun. I'm using the sun to do this. Okay, I'm going to give you the thing in the side chat there because you're not going to be able to hear the sound because I haven't got it fixed up like that. I've got to redo this entire fucking thing to work out what the hell's wrong with the sound here. I think it might be a plugin that I put in that isn't really working out very well. But this is the rambling nonsense that is Boris Johnson rambling nonsense.
Okay.
I invite him to address the General Assembly.
This is so dumb.
Mr. President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, faithful late-night audience. It's customary for the British Prime Minister to come to this United Nations and pledge to advance our values and defend our rules, the rules of a peaceful world, protecting
get to the point, Boris.
navigation in the
He's
Gulf,
like
to
he's like the
persevering
father
in
of the
vital
bride
task
who
of
really
achieving
doesn't like
two-state
the fucking
solution in the
groom.
conflict in the Middle East. And of course, I'm proud to do all these
It's
things.
like I'm doing this
but
fucking thing, but I'm
no
really
one
not
can
got my heart in
ignore a
it. To be
gathering
frank,
force that is reshaping the future of every member of this assembly. There has been nothing
mean,
like it in history.
Your country
When I
used
think
to
of the great
run
scientific
pretty much half the
revolutions
world,
of
and
the
now
past.
it's
Print,
this. And
it's
I'm
done
thinking,
aviation,
what
the
happened?
atomic age.
Little
The
one.
question that
Just little
springs
one.
out is
They were
how?
required, but over which we, the human race,
Yeah.
had the advantage,
We-
which
yeah,
we
we
control.
will
I know you guys
to
can't
the
hear
family.
it, but Boris is
How?
actually speaking. That's all. Did you not know? Okay.
The case in the digital age. You may keep your secrets from your friends, from your parents, your children, your doctor, even your personal trainer. But it takes real effort to conceal your thoughts from Google. And if that is true today, in future, there may be nowhere to hide. Smart cities will pullulate with sensors, all joined together by the internet.
Why are you
of
talking
things.
about this?
Bollards communing invisibly with lampposts, so there is always a
Like
parking
entertainment
space for your
gold.
electric car, so that no bin goes unemptied, no street.
Why is this
unswept.
person in charge of the
urban
country?
environment
Just
is as
why?
antiseptic as a Zurich pharmacy. But this
Zurich sounds
technology
nice.
could also be used to keep every citizen under
Look at everybody.
round-the-clock surveillance.
Look at them.
A future
They're
Alexa
just
will
laughing.
pretend.
Like,
Take
my
over.
country's
What?
just
Alexa will be
standing
watching you,
there
clucking her
laughing
tongue
at you going,
and
and you
stamping
thought we
her
were
foot.
the idiots in Europe.
In
Can you imagine? that
voice
you-
connectivity
Okay, I gotta
will be in
pause this for
every
a second. This man is at the UN, okay? Do you realise that there are around 400 people furiously trying to work out what the fuck he's saying in somebody else's language? Just let that fucking sink in for a second. It's like God knows how many people's different languages are being spoken right now as they're trying to decipher what the fuck is going on here
Look at their faces.
and explain it to them in their own language.
I mean, look at their face. They're like, what
Yeah.
the fuck is this?
And they're sitting there listening to it and how is he saying? What is he?
room and almost
That's who I
every
want
object
to
on
interview.
your
I'd want to
mattress
interview
will
the
monitor your
translators who had to go.
like
Yeah.
this is your fridge
I suspect
As
they're going to need counsellors after this.
will beep for more cheese.
As a
Front
native
door
Brit,
will
I don't
squeak
understand what
wide.
he's saying.
The moment you approach like some silent butler, your
It's
smart meter
the
this
words
is
are
will go
English.
hustling of its own
It's one of
accord
those,
for the
isn't it?
cheapest electricity,
There was definitely
and
English
every one
words.
of them minutely transcribing your
But
every
what are
habit
you
in
saying, you
tiny
verbose
electronic
old
shorthand
fuck?
stored, not in their chips or in their innards, nowhere you can find it, but in some great cloud of data that lowers ever more
Oh my god.
oppressively
For
over the
me,
human
you know,
race.
when they're sort of
A
like talking
giant,
about the
dark
old white man
thundercloud
trope, here it
waiting
is.
to burst.
And you're sitting
we
there
have
kind of
no
going, you know,
control
you're right now.
over how or when
You,
the
thanks
precipitation
for
will
proving
take place.
everybody
Every
right,
day
Boris.
that we tap on our phones
In
or
the
work
future,
on
Boris
our
predicts
iPads,
the smart
and I see
fridge
some
will
of
go
you
busking
are
on the
doing
street.
now.
I swear to you,
We
people,
not only
people were
leave
talking to me about
our
him.
indelible
This guy
spoor
here was going up against the aristocracy.
in the ether, but we are
It's the-
ourselves
He's an
becoming a
aristocrat.
resource, click by click, tap by tap.
Oh,
Just
did you
as
see his
the
father
Carboniferous period created the indescribable
on
wealth, leaf by
telly
decaying
earlier this
leaf,
week?
of hydrocarbons, data
I
is
could
the
call
crude
my.
oil
I don't
of
have
the
to be
modern
called
economy,
whatever
and
his
we're now
father's
in an
name is. I
environment
could be
where
called
we don't know who
Mustafa.
should own these new oil
Actually,
fields.
you
We
know,
don't
this
know who
works.
should have
This works
the
well
rights
with him just
or the
rabbiting
title
on,
to these
because
gushers of cash,
even
and
if
we
you talk
don't
over it,
know
to be
who
honest with you, it
decides
doesn't really
how to
matter.
use that data, and
Because it's just
can these
like
algorithms
it's
be
noise.
trusted with our lives.
It's just
Yeah,
background noise.
there's
Should
no
the machines,
substance. It's like, what the
and
hell?
only the machines.
This is like
decide
imagine.
whether or not
Look at
we're
Moroccan.
eligible
Look at the Moroccan
for a
ambassadors. They're like, what the
mortgage or
hell is
insurance.
this?
Do you remember
Or
that interview
surgery
that lady
or
had? I'm trying to remember her name now.
we should receive. Are we
You
doomed
know, the one from
to a
Alaska,
cold
the
and heartless
folksy
future in which
coaxy
computer
sort of
says
lady
yes,
who was just
or computer says
absolutely
no,
completely out of her depth.
with the grim
Oh, Sarah Palin.
finality
Yeah,
I can see
of
right
the
now.
It's
emperor
basically as
in
though
the
she'd
arena.
written this. Like
How
a
do
British
you plead
version of
with
Sarah
an
Palin
algorithm? How
handed
do
him
you
this.
get it to
He's
see
literally
extenuating
reading this, look.
circumstances?
He's
And
looking
how do we
down.
know that the
And
machines have
reading.
not been
This has been written
insidiously
out.
Programmed to fool
On a
us.
cocktail
or
napkin.
even
On
to cheat
paper.
us. We're already
The-
You know, I think we should
using
actually
all
play this
kinds of
video to
messaging
British people to say
services
this
that
is
offer
what
instant
English sounds
communication
like if you
at
don't speak
minimal cost. And
English.
these same programs,
They
platforms,
could have sent
can
in
also
like
be designed
a
for
chimp with,
real-time
you know, just like a
censorship of every
little
conversation,
bit of a
with
mop on
offending
his head.
words
Do
automatically
you know what we need
deleted.
to do?
Indeed,
But that's what we did.
No, we need to
In
do.
some
What we need to do
countries,
is find international
this happens
TV
today.
and find out their version.
Digital authoritarianism
Because what
is
they'll
not,
have is the
alas,
translator trying
the
to
stuff
make
of
make
dystopian fantasy,
you know, and they'll just be
but
like,
of an emerging reality.
yeah.
And the reason I'm giving this
Oh
speech
god, I
today
can't
with
wait
a
until
slightly gloomy
the news
No
network in my
comprendo.
country starts
is that
translating
UK
this.
is one of
Yeah,
the
they're
world's
just gonna
We need
be
the speech.
leaders, and I
We
believe
need the
governments
speech
have been
impaired translator as
simply caught
well.
unawares by the unintended
I mean, just listen
consequences
everybody for a second
of
and
the
see if you can
internet,
grasp
a
anything that's going
scientific
on here.
breakthrough, far more reaching in its everyday psychological impact than any other invention since Gutenberg.
Oh, he's talking
And when
about
you
AI
consider
now.
how long it took
Why is he talking
for
about AI?
books to come into widespread circulation,
Now we're talking about
the
books.
arrival of the internet is
No,
far
I
bigger than
skipped
Prince.
ahead.
It's bigger than the atomic age, but it's like
Now we're into
nuclear
the
power
atomic age.
in that it's capable of both good and
Why is-
harm, and of course it's not alone. As new
Really,
technologies
technology
Why is he
can be
talking about
good
atomic
and
race towards
bad.
us from the far horizon, we strain our eyes as they come to make out whether
Is that
they
man
are
asleep?
for good or bad, friends or foes. AI.
Can you blame him?
Me.
AI.
Helpful robots.
Robin,
caring
if this is
for
the
an
quality
aging
of leader you
population.
have,
Pink-eyed
like,
Terminator
who would
sent
give you a
back from the
trade deal?
future
They're sitting there thinking, why are we supposed to give a tribute to this guy?
Tim Nice but Dim speaks. It's like those kids that always wanted to be prime minister or president. It's like this is. I think this is what they mean by late stage capitalism. The ones that can afford to become prime minister.
As old as
of course I can be prime minister. I can afford it.
Any scientific
Imagine
advance
being
is
16 years old,
by
and this is what you have to see.
When Prometheus
Oh my God, he's
brought
talking about
fire
Prometheus now.
to mankind in a tube of feathers,
Why?
as you may remember, with his brother Prometheus.
Just like nudging him.
Zeus
What's he talking
punished
about?
him
What the fuck?
by chaining him to a Tartarian
Is she
crab
laughing at him?
while his liver.
Yeah, they're just laughing at him. Of course. Who wouldn't?
This is
I talked
utter
about the hang of it,
nonsense.
His liver
I
was
think we need to take
baptized
away
by
the
an
UK's
eagle.
nukes now.
But every
This
time his
this
liver
sounds like it
regrew,
was written
the
by
eagle
somebody
came
who was
back
trying to do
and
an
pecked it
essay, and they
again.
were saying like, you've
And
got to
this
do
went
it
on
on 10
forever.
sheets of paper, and they're like,
A
fuck!
bit like the experience of
Just a
He just
filler.
pants it out.
Brexit
Do you
in the
remember
UK.
about 10 days ago where they were saying he was like Icarus the Greek?
Some
I
of our
know.
parliamentarians
They were
had their
right.
way.
Yeah.
In fact, it was a standard
It wasn't Daedalus
poetic
after all, it
practice
was Icarus
to
himself.
curse the Protoss
I'm looking at this and
Puritans.
going, how the hell is the UK...
The look on
For
their
any
faces.
scientific or technical
I mean, I'm
breakthrough.
looking at this going, how the
Only
hell is
they had
the
never
UK supposed to
invented
get
the
a
ship,
trade
then
deal
Jason would
whilst
never have
doing
sailed
this
to
shit in
Colchis,
front of the
and all
UN?
sorts of disasters would never
What are
have
you looking
happened.
up
It is
for?
a deep human instinct to be
Looking for
wary
the clock?
of any kind of
The
technical
Lord.
progress.
It's like, oh God, please give me a sign or
1829,
something.
They thought that the human frame
Okay,
would not
I can't
withstand
watch
the
anymore.
speeds
I closed it.
attained
I can't.
by
I just can't. This
Stephenson's
is just too
rocket.
dumb.
And there are
It's
today people
hilarious.
who are still
Dumb.
actually
And then there's this. Like,
anti-science.
no, I've
whole
had to deal with
movement
so many
called the
dumb people the past
anti-vaxxers,
couple of weeks. So
who
this
refuse
is
to acknowledge the
too much.
evidence that vaccinations
What happened
have
to the
eradicated
Rambling of an
smallpox,
idiot man.
and who by
What
their
happened to the lady who used to
prejudices
show
are
up
actually
and, like,
endangering
get
the
drunk
very
and dance kind of
children
funny?
they want to
We want her
protect.
back.
And I
We've got her
totally reject
idiot brother along.
this anti-scientific pessimism. I'm profoundly optimistic.
She
Oh, man,
used to
I
run
bet-
through the wheat
ability of new
fields. He
technology
torched them with a
to serve
£20
as
note.
a liberator
I mean,
and to remake
I'm
the
looking at
world
this and thinking,
wondrously
George Johnson must be
and
fucking trying to
benignly.
commit
Indeed, in
suicide right
countless
now.
respects, technology is already doing just that. Nanotechnology, I mentioned earlier. Revolutionizing medicine by
Boris,
designing
please
robot
stop.
robots
Please,
a
please,
fraction
if
of
you're
the
counting
size
once,
of a red blood
a
cell
deal,
capable
a
of
trade deal
infiltrating
with
our bodies,
anybody, keep your
especially
mouth
in the
shut.
world, and
Everybody in the
attacking
world
malignant
must be
cells like
wondering
some
what is
Star
going
Wars
on.
armada.
You know,
Neural
if you imagine
interface
that, we've had some
technology
ridiculous
is producing
people
a new
in
generation
the
of
UK in our
cochlear
time.
implants allowing the gift of hearing
But
to people who would
this is
otherwise
just-
not be able to hear the voices of their own
Next
children.
level.
A London technology company has worked out how to help the blind to
No,
navigate
the entire
walking
world
with nothing
knows
more
exactly
than
what's
an
going
app
on.
their
Ever since we
smartphones.
saw Boris
New
Johnson, we knew that
technologies
this is British
produced in
Trump,
Britain,
and
helping
that's
the
what you
deaf
got. You
to
got British
hear
Trump. We're
and
not
the
surprised
blind
anymore.
Yeah,
to see.
someone
We used to think that
Trump, but slightly
printing
posher.
was
And
something
that's
Do you
that
it.
you did
remember
to run
what I
off
was
a
saying to you
body
about
count.
this
Trump
guy
might
there?
be a more skilled orator.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is the thing, you see. He's just kind of going, I'll just get away with bluster. That'll do. Just fill in the gaps with bullshit. And that's his line. He's going to just bore everyone to death. They're going to kind of go, how was the speech? I have no idea. I can't give you an opinion on the speech. I really can't.
I fell asleep.
All I
halfway
heard
through.
was that there were definitely words. I understood them as English, but apart from that, it was beyond my ken. I don't know. I just over my head, under my legs. Don't know. Just none of it hit me.
Perhaps the speech was written by AI that didn't speak English.
Well, they both,
allows medical breakthroughs the like of which we have never known.
Boris and Trump do have one thing in common. Both mates of Steve Bannon.
Everybody here is pretending to listen. Look at that face. Look at the face there. Look at this face here. This is the honey face.
That's the face of.
This is
1.3% of English life is complex DNA.
Yeah, this is a dad looking at his 9-year-old son, who's trying to explain to him why he's been brought into the headmaster. Okay, really? I mean, definitely that face.
Makeup
Well,
of the
I'm sure
individual. So far, We have discovered
Obviously, it's the
secrets
same
of less
stuff
than
here. Let's just move to the crowd
0.3%
here.
of complex
I think
life
there's
on
there's
the planet
people asleep over here.
correspondence, and
Hang on.
the right to seek and impart
I love the fact
information
that they do some
and
crowd shots
ideas.
here. It's like
Unless
an event,
we ensure
you know?
that new technology reflects this spirit,
They should have
I
some,
fear
like,
that our
sweep... Oh my god, look.
They're all asleep.
Okay, this guy looks like he's waiting for a plane. You know? And then we've got, yeah,
Well,
this...
to crash into the UN to save him.
Yeah, everybody's like, what
declaration
on
will mean
fucking god is
everybody's
going on
Going,
here?
when is lunch? When is lunch? Come on.
This is people at a funeral at somebody who nobody really liked. They're just there because they were related in some fashion.
nothing and no longer
I
hold.
It's
think
like,
they're
can we just
actually-
get this over with and get to the drinks?
The mission
What that guy's really
of the
thinking
United
is,
Kingdom and
I don't
all
think
who
much of
share
this
our
new spitting
values
image.
must be to ensure that emerging
I never
technologies
realized
are
that Boris
designed
Johnson was
from the
like,
outset
if
for
you were to
freedom,
play Skyrim and you were to take
and
the eye
pluralism, with the
sort
right
of like
safeguards
distance
in
between
place
each other,
to
and you were to
protect
put the
our
slider all the way down,
Month
that's
by
what he
month,
looks like.
Vital decisions.
He's like the
are
anime
being
version of
taken
a
in
British
academic
idiot.
committees, company boardrooms, and industry standards groups. They are writing the rule books of the future,
Just
making
everybody's like,
ethical judgments, choosing what will or will
It's
not
like
be
Princeton.
rendered
Are you
possible.
okay?
15 minutes of
hot?
bluster, man.
We- And I hope that
I get it, but this is fucking ridiculous. Look
Eh,
at France.
Yeah, I think everyone has got somebody's eye. Can you imagine, like, everyone's just looking across at whoever's there in front of them, like, I'm just going to stare at you. You stare at me? I'll stare at you, yeah? You stare at me, I'll stare at you. And that way, nobody can see us laughing.
you will come there and we will seek to
He's
assemble
just
the broadest
staring
possible
at something.
coalition to take forward this vital
Oh
task.
god.
Building
painful.
on all that the UK
Look at
contributes
France.
as a global leader
He's
in
probably
ethical
drawing
and
stick figures right
responsible
now.
technology. If we
I
master
just
this
think I
challenge,
just bring out a
and
crossword
I have
puzzle
no
and just
doubt
start
that we
feeling it
can,
out. It's gonna screw it.
then we will
Might as
not only
well.
safeguard our
It's like
ideals,
this is the
we will
country that
surmount
beat
the
us.
limits that once
Fuck's
constrained
I mean, you remember that
conquered-
movie from
conquer the
with
perils
the
that once
dictator.
ended
That this
so
is
many lives.
that
Together,
essentially. Only
we will
there's fucking
vanquish
piss
killer
in a
diseases,
pint
eliminate
glass and
famine,
just start
protect the
drinking it.
environment, and
It's essentially
transform
that.
our cities.
It's like
Success will depend now as ever on freedom, openness, and
The most
How is-
popular
formula
candidate
that
to
not
be
only
Prime Minister
emancipates
in
the
the
human
next
spirit,
election.
but releases
Coffee, how
the
is your fucking
boundless
language still
ingenuity and
relevant when
inventiveness of
this
mankind,
is the guy
and which,
that runs the
above all,
country? It would.
the United
How?
Kingdom
No.
will strive
Because the English-speaking
to
world has more nukes than any
and
other.
advance. Excellencies, ladies and
I
gentlemen,
honestly
thank
reckon
you
that's
very
all
much
there is
for
at
your
this
kind
point.
No, at least here in the Middle East, give it less than a decade, and
the Prime
Chinese will
Minister
be the
of
second language here.
the United
English.
Kingdom of Great Britain.
Like
and
you're already
Northern
starting
Ireland.
to see it,
Request
and
protocol to escort
you know,
it.
it's
It's
little
excellent.
hints that it's getting there. I don't know if I said this example before or not, but that was back in April. I was out next to the Burj Khalifa, and they have these like light shows at the evening, and the light show just started with just having the logo of the company that's, or the, you know, the corporation that's maintains and builds Burj Khalifa, Amar, and the logo came out in Arabic first, and then second came out the Chinese logo, and the third was the English. You're third place now. You're no longer important.
That doesn't really surprise me, considering China has a lot more gravity. That is, like, they are a lot more close to Europe than the United States. So you're gonna see probably China become the first world power. As a
Yeah, I
result.
mean, we're starting to see like little things here and there. Like English is taught here at 5th grade, and I think in the UAE they haven't started yet, but in Saudi at least they started teaching Chinese as an option if you want at 5th grade as well. I'm not sure when they're going to start it here in Dubai, but it's going to start soon.
It's spoken in
Yeah, kids are-
most major international business circles, so it's not going away soon.
Oh, thank fuck it's
No, it's
over.
not. But like I said,
Mm.
when you start teaching it in school, once those kids start
That's 20
graduating,
years of change, and then everyone's out of their league.
yeah, that's the thing. Like they get it as an optional thing. Like you choose English or Arabic, so you'll have a bunch of people graduating knowing more Chinese than English,
Well, that's
dealing
kind of
with more
cool because
Chinese
then you'll be able
company
to talk to them, and they'll
than
teach you a bit.
Americans. What?
Well, you'll talk to them, so they'll teach you a bit. And if it becomes that ubiquitous, you'll grow. You'll grow to get used to it.
No. I mean, yeah, the languages are one of those things. Yeah, you will learn them once you practice them long enough, or once enough people talk
And
that
the
language
raging
around you.
xenophobes will kill themselves.
Yep. And think
Yeah,
all of that
Win-win.
could have been, and all of that could have been avoided if England and America weren't so fucking navel-gazing centric.
Well,
But
I mean,
hey,
if you are going to outsource all of your industry to a country, you can't really complain about it doing really well economically. Or complain about the fact that it's polluting more than you.
I mean, there's a lot of people that don't understand what happens in China right now. Like, we keep saying that, oh yeah, they're developing a middle class, and we just throw it away as if like, yeah, what does that even mean? We, like, in the Western world, and even in a lot of parts of the Middle East, a new iPhone comes out, and we're like, we can't afford this. We'll go for the cheaper phone. Like, this is too expensive. What do you mean? Why are you selling us this? Xiaomi is releasing a phone only in China, and it sells for like $2,700. China only, and it's already fully booked. Like, the pre-order is already fully sold. That's what it means that they're developing a very strong middle class. While we're here going like, an iPhone for $1,000? Who can afford this?
well, yes, China is literally the export capital of the world, engaging in mercantilism in a planet where we're outsourcing all of the labor. So they get all the jobs, they get all the money, they get all the exports.
Well, the jobs have since moved on to like other countries, but yeah, basically that's how they were able to become a presence in the world. Because for the longest time, it was like the industrial capital of the world, and they had the
I mean,
manpower.
when it comes to jobs moving away from China, not yet. They're still in China. When they develop new businesses around the world, like for example, they developed the China Mart here. They're developing different plants all around Africa, and yeah, they just hire Chinese people. They just, instead of exporting the jobs from China, they export Chinese people to go and live in other countries and do the jobs.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, they're all manned by Chinese people right now. A lot of Africans, Cameroon is one of them, is trying to have a quota of how many Cameroonians work in those factories and in those plants, and they're back to negotiating tables with the Chinese. Like, can you hire some of our people, please?
I never thought of that model before, because when you think about it, if you're paying them the premium rate versus paying them a premium rate over in China, you're going to be saving money, but you're also going to be establishing a culture in a foreign land.
Well, I've seen it in
their entire operation in Africa is not about trades per se. It's all about logistics. Instead of shipping all the raw ingredient or the raw material all the way to China, and sometimes they ship it all the way to America to some sort of like exporters and have it exported to China again, just to circumvent some trade agreements. So yeah, they just cut all the middlemen, and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna establish a business there and get all the raw material ourselves.
Because I mean, when you think about it, if your cost of living is essentially to the point where you're living like upper middle class or like, you know, rich, who cares where you live, honestly?
The thing is, with companies like that, Aramco was like that in the 80s. Not even the 80s, like 60s all the way to the 90s, when we started exporting like all Americans, Canadians, Brits, and Germans. Instead of paying someone a housing sort of allowance and a transportation allowance, they just build a compound and be like, well, you're an employee, you'll get a house, but as soon as your tenure is over, you're out, and your house is ours because you never owned it. And that worked for a while. And that right now China's doing the same thing with their
I mean,
I would say with their
I've seen
projects in Africa.
Abib, I've seen that in Mozambique. They basically build the building site. They put this massive wall around it, and then 10 months later, there's a new stadium, and the wall comes down, and you never see anybody. You don't know what's going on inside, and you're sort of sitting there going, "Huh, wow."
Yeah, I mean, you lived in Saudi for a while. I mean, you remember there were some compounds in Riyadh, or did you live in a hotel? I'm not sure. Like, you didn't tell me that.
I was in Abu Dhabi, and well, I've only been to Saudi Arabia in the hotel. I've never been inside a compound, but I
Okay.
know they're there.
The compound. Imagine just like a village that's owned by a corporation. That's about it. Like
Okay, gated neighborhood.
instead of flashing like your ID card to enter a gate, to enter like a gate into that closed neighborhood, no, you show them your employee card, and based on your pay grade, you're either allowed in or not. And yeah, that's how it worked for Aramco for quite a while.
All right, I'm gonna take a walk over to the store.
You're going
Going
for,
to-
for more beers, aren't you?
More beer.
Fuel.
This is a
So-
mistake, Pascal. You bought
What?
just enough beers so you weren't going to get in trouble. Now this
No,
is
I
the
had
trouble purchase.
I had one left, and you're trying to discourage me from entertaining you.
I'm trying to help you, Pascal.
No, you're not.
We're all friends here.
Robin,
We're doing
I-
this because we love you.
I'm
Yes,
I'm
so-
going
Pascal,
to get some fuel so I can continue to
The
entertain
last
you.
time you had
And
too much to drink, there was a load of socialists crying.
I know, but you definitely shouldn't be drinking beer. It's bad for you.
Back in
It's
America,
got far too many calories.
Do you
Yeah, have
think?
spirit instead.
Do you think that's going to disincentivize me?
Drink whiskey. The dieters drink.
Right.
Just neat vodka, mate. That'll sort you out.
I'm going to be right back.
Oh, jeez. So that was Boris Johnson's speech at the UN, and I won't be surprised if any country gives you a trade deal at this point.
Do you know the funniest bit of all it is? If we bin Article 50, which we can do, there's no penalty. That's,
Well, you
we've
would-
been absolute cunts to everybody. And we can just say, yeah, we've changed our mind.
That
mean-
never happens.
It's just bizarre.
I mean, you will have to deal with the EU that's pissed at you, but they won't. There's no
No,
penalty.
no, no.
for that,
If we
that's
bin
it.
Article 50, it's as if Brexit never happened. It's just like
Yeah.
the proroguing of Parliament. It never happened.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah.
I absolutely laughed me balls off.
You know, I was actually quite surprised it came out 11-0. And then I thought about it a bit more. And then it's a case like, no, the arguments that they kept asking the most questions about was, can you prorogue Parliament for 5 years? What stop Parliament from being prorogued for an entire election? What stop an election from being deferred if you don't win it? And then proroguing of Parliament to maintain power. Those are the questions which the Supreme Judges never asked any follow-ups to. But the things
Well-
of it's the Prime Minister's prerogative to prorogue Parliament whenever they want. That's the ones that got all of the questioning. So it's like, yeah, of course they're going to make this one. It's just hindsight kind of blinded us.
Was the fact that they never ever offered any evidence against what was being said. That is, you're doing this because of Brexit.
That as
You
well.
know, because nobody, basically, nobody was willing to sign a sworn statement to say, nope, it's not honest.
Yep. Kind of telling.
Well,
And
the
Baroness,
Queen. Now the Queen is on hot water for basically allowing this. It's like, come on,
Well,
man.
She's a rubber stamp.
she's not on hot water, mate. I mean, if her people come up and say we're doing this because of that, unless you're willing to basically what they could have, I mean, that would have been funny, wouldn't it? Haul the Queen up in front of her own law lords. Oh, sorry, Supreme Court. To ask the question. Now that, I mean, basically that's the only way, unless one of her, the two privy councillors who went up to do it, and unless they'd signed a statement to say X, the only way you could have proven it either way was to basically interview the Queen. And that is one thing I don't think is going to happen.
That would be fun. It's just the
Actually-
Queen being interviewed by her own court. It's like,
If they did interview the Queen, they would surely have to codify the fact that the Queen does have some power,
Well,
because that would be giving her responsibility for being more than a rubber stamp that her current position holds for us, because she is a diplomatic member of the civil service, and a rubber stamp to add a delaying tactic onto government to prevent the more heinous acts from passing.
There was something that came out in the Pigfuckers book recently that he'd asked the Queen to kind of interfere with the Scottish referendum, and that caused a lot of stir in Scotland, especially, obviously,
No shit.
because she's supposed to be completely above. And
Not just that, Sir Fox, it's the fact that you remember this whole Brexit thing is about we don't want meddling in our country by foreigners. It's like,
well,
well,
come on, she's English.
I think at this point the Scots should
Partially.
just leave. I think at this point the Scots should just leave. Period. You know, fuck you, we're leaving.
Yeah, but there'll be a border down the Scottish border, says every Brexiteer ever.
At this point, I think Hadrian's Wall should be the fucking border between England and Scotland.
Oh, did you actually see this one?
It keeps the drunks out.
Nicola Sturgeon got asked about the fact that there'll have to be a border, and she just turned around and said, "No, there wouldn't. There doesn't have to be a border in Ireland. Why would there have to be a border in Scotland?"
Gee.
Scotland or Ireland? What are we talking about?
If Scotland goes independent.
Right.
So when Nicola Sturgeon was asked about the fact that there have to be a border, she turned around, laughed at the interviewer and said, "No, there wouldn't. There doesn't have to be a border in Ireland. So why would Scotland be any different?"
Oh, right. Okay. So she's just taking the piss, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's because she's had an interview with that journalist before who told her that there doesn't have to be a border in Ireland.
So yeah. So and then of course that somebody can take that out of context and use it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what journalists do.
Yep.
If you want to call them that.
I think we might see the Ireland reunify and Scotland leaving. So well done, English people, for being so fucking arrogant to think that you can appease people.
This is a small percentage of Britain, thanks. You've got to remember these are elections, and we're talking about people who bother to vote, and that's a small percentage as it is.
Yeah.
Again, why the fuck is it so small?
17 million people have decided upon this at any costs. And so you didn't say at any cost at the start. Yes, we did. No, you didn't. We were saying you were going to do it at any cost, and you said no, we won't. It's the funniest. It's the funniest. The thing is that for somebody to say we need to keep no deal on the table, and the thing is, you say why? Well, because it's a bargaining chip, and it's like, yeah, but it's not really a bargaining chip here. That's the thing. All you're doing is fucking yourself up. Everybody else will be fine. You won't, and that's your deal. This is why I did that. Remember the sheriff walking in Blazing Saddles? That's the only time where that's ever worked. And it required non-European idiots. And you're talking to a 27 countries worth of politicians. This doesn't sell, sir. They're just looking at you blank face like, why would you do that?
And
at this point, we now know why that they would do that, because they're all poised to basically make a killing shorting the pound.
And that this has come up, and yet you see the fucking Brexiteers still going, nope,
yeah,
fucking this at any cost.
Well,
it's like, okay.
Well, the thing is that this is the Cambridge Analytica frothing of the mouth, patriotism at any costs, my country kind of thing. It's like, what do you mean your country? I never understood this ownership of country because you were born in it. I was born in a hospital. Doesn't mean I own that shit. That's the thing.
I'll be pissing off the people who bought my parents' house then.
It's technically, really, the country owns you.
I was going to say, technically, if you came up with the right set of genitals, you own the country. But that's just the monarchy.
Again, the fact that this has come out, like the fact that, these people like Rees-Mogg and Aaron Banks are doing it to short the pot to make a killing, and no, we still want Brexit. It's like,
that's a 3-year-old argument at this point.
Okay, this is a rather hyperbolic way to describe it, but some of Some of products containing hydroquinone, described as the biological equivalent of sandpaper, it removes the top layer of skin. That is the newspaper. That's how they described it. Some of products containing This is people who apparently know English. What
Was that written by Boris Johnson?
Some
People,
of
what-
products
what-
containing hydroquinone described as the biological equivalent of paint stripper. That's it. Full stop. It removes the
People,
top
what-
layer of skin.
Persons what does writing
Okay.
did that.
How bad is that? And I mean, underneath somebody actually put public warned to avoid rogue skin lightening creams at all costs. I think at all costs is a bit much, really. It's like somebody sees one at the other end of the street or whatever like that, and they sort of like run into traffic. That's taking it too far.
Well, they said at all costs, so you
Yeah.
find it, you best just nuke the shop.
Yeah, just throw your child away.
yeah,
Throw it off a building instead of being too near somebody with skin cream on. So yeah, how long before we're hanging Dominic Cummings? I mean,
I
at
think
this
we need a
point,
time machine for that.
yeah. I mean,
just use a guillotine. It's more efficient. So at least he'll be dead afterwards.
it's quite amazing at just how Machiavellian this guy is at this point. And honestly, it's really this, isn't it, guys? They've basically G'd up a bunch of fucking patriots, just enough to be able to get them over the edge. And now they've moved the goalpost, 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 keep stalling, keep stalling, keep stalling, keep stalling. And now we're at that point where it's all going to go wrong. And everybody's set to go. To, like, buy up as much as possible.
Yep, and comments from the BBC about there should be rioting did not violate reporting or broadcasting.
But saying,
I've
something
experienced
is
racism.
racist, yeah.
But being a woman of colour and saying this is how racists talk to me is
Yeah,
violating guidelines.
Yeah, it is a bit weird, that one. Obviously, the BBC being a leftist channel, I'm a little weirded out by that one, really.
Yep. Another fantastic one is Guy Milkshake Farage, in the most inept way possible, is serving a community service. Nigel Farage goes on and says that the civil servants should be knifed for what they've done in Brexit, for not delivering it. They should be knifed for not forcing it through. The police say no wrongdoing whatsoever.
Yeah, but I mean, Nigel, bless his cotton socks. I mean, do you remember what he said about the comedian Jo Brand after she said milkshakes ain't good enough for them? Should be battery acid. And
Yep.
then said, I'm only joking, that's what this show's about. It was on a show called Heresy where you do say fairly outrageous things. And Nigel wanted her hung, drawn, quartered, sacked, locked in jail, never on the BBC again,
The usual.
Well, this is the desperation bit. You see that they're in the trapped rat point. You see, so they've got to G up as much possible hatred as well. I mean, I'm listening to people that I've known from school, and they're talking about like the betrayal and the sort of like this is the end of democracy, and it's like, dude, you are just such a mark. There's people that are they're sitting there talking about my country, you lost, and it's like, what do you mean you lost?
But the end of democracy is reaching back over parliamentary sovereignty and demanding that a minority get to determine the future of the government and country indefinitely. Or should we not mention the fact that the 2017 election happened after the Brexit referendum?
Oh, the referendum was crooked, skewed, basically advisory. In fact, there's so much that was wrong about that referendum.
Well, no, I'm avoiding all of that, and I'm just going with the basic of parliamentary sovereignty. Future governments cannot be bound by the promises of previous governments. Doesn't matter if the same people and the same party wins again. They are sovereign, haven't they said in the previous government?
Yeah, and the fact that now they're trying to shut down Parliament, but hey, it's okay to the Brexiteers when the dictatorship works in their way, but the EU is a totalitarian regime apparently, yet they allowed people like Farage to just basically walk in and be a dickhead. Whereas in any real dictatorship, he'd be fucking hung outside the EU building with piano wire, with a sign out around his neck that said, "I'm a traitor to the Great EU Project." So where is that again? It's been there for 10 years. I haven't seen it yet.
You know, yeah. So, we're talking about sort of like illegalities. I was wondering if anybody wanted to know about the whistleblower transcript and exactly how bad this was.
Oh,
Go
I
on,
read
then.
it. It was fun.
So, what was the your favourite points on this one?
Did
Anybody wants to have a look at the document? I've got it here for you in the side.
Cheers, I wouldn't need to refresh because it was 9 pages.
So obviously the Honourable Dick Burr. I mean, what are you doing? But it also went to Adam Schiff, you see. So this is where the nobody can hide, you see.
Oops, sorry, it's my Skype going off.
But
The Honorable Dick Burr.
yeah, the main complaint is this: early in the morning, 25th of July, the president spoke by telephone to Ukrainian president. That name. I do not know which side initiated the call. This was the first publicly acknowledged call between the two leaders since a brief congratulation call after Mr. Zelensky won the presidency on April 21st. Multiple White House officials with direct knowledge of the call informed me that after an initial exchange of pleasantries, the president used the remainder of the call to advance his personal interests. Namely, he sought to press the Ukrainian leader to take actions to help the president's 2020 re-election bid. According to the White House officials, he had direct knowledge of the call. President pressurized Mr. Zelenko to, inter alia, initiate or continue an investigation into the activities of former President Joseph Biden and his son Hunter, assisting purportedly uncovering the allegations of Russian interference in the 2016 US presidential election, originated in Ukraine, with specific requests that the Ukrainian leader locate and turn over servers used by the Democratic National Committee.
I love that.
And explain. So he reckons that the Ukrainians have got Hillary's servers, really. Which initially reported that Russian hackers have penetrated the DNC's networks. Meet or speak with two people the president named explicitly as his personal envoys in these matters, Mr. Giuliani and Attorney General Barr, to whom the president referred multiple times in tandem. So, that's the gist of it. Have we got... I'm trying to find the actual transcript.
There is quite a funny thing that happened because he shifted it all onto a private server, which is exactly the thing he kicked off about Hillary doing.
Well, it's not so much a private server as a top secret server.
Sorry, yeah.
So,
but he's
Hillary
also
had her own
shifted-
private server, apparently. Okay, and she'd obviously been using it for various emailing and whatever like this. Mr. Trump had decided that the country that he is serving, their server is his, and has now put down something that is, as far as I was aware, at the point of secret, and put it into a box that would be normally put into like tippy top secret. Now, if you can imagine, for some reason or another, he's thinking that nobody looks at that stuff. For some reason. If you imagine, these people are going to categorize what's been said so they can understand how to mitigate against such things. The reason these things go in there in the first place is because they need to be looked at by people with a huge, high-ranking clearance, and they've got to go over this with a fine-tooth comb to see what information's gone out and why. So the idea of somebody bringing the secret stuff in, what are they going to do? They're just going to be like, well, we're not supposed to look at this. Put it back in the secret box. Hello. It was never going to stay there in the first place. But this is the malicious idiot thing that we were talking about. You've got some growling going on in the background there.
Oh yeah, it's a dog. It's a neighbor's dog.
Yeah, could you tell it to die or something?
Shoot it. You're Italian, shoot it.
Okay, we have the transcript of Trump's phone call. Okay, the transcript of Trump's phone call, apparently. Oh, I've got ad blocker on. God damn it. Okay, go away, go away. Are you happy now? Apparently, the transcript for Trump's phone call with the Ukrainian lead. Oh, go away, adverts.
Is this the full transcript, or is this the one they released, which is an edited version?
1 second. There's fucking adverts going on.
Spark your curiosity, and
No,
who knows what could happen.
shut up.
Nescafe Azera. Stay curious.
Ah! God. Fucking adverts for Nescafe. The transcript for Trump's phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky isn't a real transcript, and there's a worrying reason for that, says Andrew Feinberg from Washington. So, why this person's saying this, I'm not quite sure. But Zelensky's ended up in Washington at this point, sat next to Mr. Trump, saying there was no pressure. Which isn't going to actually work, because they're not in the court of public opinion anymore. As far as everybody is aware, you don't do this sort of thing. And especially for the fact that they've tried to actually hide this, smacks of somebody who knows that they're not supposed to do this sort of thing. So all of this at this point is just cover up and reacting as best as they can to get it out there. If you imagine that there's a tactic to get ahead of the story. One of those ways is, for example, if a bunch of information is going to be found out, release it. Release it with whatever's come out beforehand. This is a tactic that Giuliani does quite a lot on this. And what he does is he bamboozles you with all of this information so you don't know which to believe. So the more information he has in the smallest occupiable time, the less people are going to be inclined to actually grasp hold of all of it. So it's a form of muddying the waters. So this is, if you imagine somebody breaks a story and that's going to, if you know that, like, you know, down the line this is going to have to be released, you release that in the same time, makes you look as if you're open, but also means that now it's all in one blob. So somebody can't go through the initial thing because that now this new bit of information has come up, and then you throw something else in there, throw in a spanner, and just keep on throwing crap in there to make sure everybody's like, what the fuck is just going on here? And it throws people off. It's a very good tactic. It works quite well.
Well, one of the things they brought up about this server is that on that same server are phone calls to Putin and also the Saudis.
Lovely.
Mute, if you could, Luca, thank you.
Mute the dog.
And have we got any information on that?
No, unfortunately, it's one of those. It's a trickle story, isn't it?
A rumour, you mean?
I think it's a bit more than a rumour, but I don't know what the next level up. Well, I suppose.
You have no idea where it's coming from, and you have no idea whether it's true.
I think
that's the level we're at right now.
No, it's a case of yes, they're on there, but we don't know what they say because we haven't got hold of them yet. I can't remember if that's from Barr or I think Rudy Giuliani's spout. I mean, Giuliani's just gone off on a complete and utter. Bah!
Well, like I said, this is his tactic.
Yeah.
You see, is bamboozle people with so many facts and you know, put in a few lies here, a few lies there, that everyone's going to just get bored of it and not worry. The problem is that it's too late now.
Yeah, Biden's trying to have me murdered.
Yeah, this tactic isn't going to work in this incident, you see, because it's not a public opinion thing. That's the point. That's where he's going to get himself into trouble. Or at least he's not going to get into trouble. You know, whatever he's doing isn't going to work for Trump.
Oh, I think it's fair to say he is going down.
Well, you know, like I said, Paul Ryan has basically been spelling out to
Yeah, he works at Fox now, doesn't he? He's on the board there.
Yeah, and he's basically just said to Rupert Murdoch, "Yeah, you're just going to have you're just going to manage the decline of Trump at this point."
Man, I still love the fact that, like, because Fox News is doing the coverage of the election because they dare to mention the Democrats, Trump is not pissed on them, telling them that they're traitors, basically. I'm saying they're thinking...
Well, I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know. Is he going to survive long enough to get into an election? Or is he going to go down before an election actually... Because how long have we got here? So 2020. And when did the elections kick in?
I'm not sure.
September, isn't it? Or November, around that sort of time?
November. I think it's the end of November.
November 2020.
November
so he's got 1 year to try and stall his way through this. And in the first day, when they went looking for the smoke, they found the gun. Let's say if he's playing 21, he's just basically got a 2 and a 5.
Yeah, I think he'll make it to the elections. It's just because the American sort of like legal system is slow as fuck when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Well, the thing is they went for an impeachment investigation, and their investigation turned up a need for impeachment the very same day. It literally walked into their arms.
It still isn't an inquiry, and besides, the thing with the
inquiry's over.
The amazing democracy that is the U.S., the Senate is already going like, yeah, we're not going to impeach him anyway. No matter what you're going to find.
No, they never do.
We're not going to
They never do. Nobody has ever been impeached by the Senate. They've only been impeached by the House.
Well, yeah, but to get anything actual, like to depose him from his place, like the Senate has to approve it.
Yes,
It'll never...
obviously no. Well, this is the whole point. Once the House has done that, of course, it's now in the courts there, and the problem for them is that they're going to be up for re-election alongside with Trump. And if they're going to hold the line on this one, they're going to get themselves into a lot of trouble because they're going.
They're going to hold the line. The RNC are doing like their best to keep every single Republican in line.
Yeah, but now they won't be able to. That's the problem because they're seeing their seats disappearing this way.
I mean,
I doubt it. I really doubt it.
Well, there is the fact that Mitch McConnell has turned around and says, well, if he's impeached in the other house, we might have to have a vote on it. And he has he's blocked so many votes in the House for him to turn around and say, might have to let it run. That's big news for McConnell to basically throw Trump under the bus.
Well, at this point, he's not actually got a lot of friends, you see, as Trump. He's got employees.
Well, he's insulted anybody because of his method of work. It's divide and rule, and it doesn't work.
I suppose probably the best way to describe him is he's sort of like this really heavy set guy who's just basically smashed right through the phalanx, not realizing, of course, that there's people behind, and now he's got people in front and behind, and now he's stuck, trying to battle his way out of a place where there's nowhere to go. He's
trying to bluster his way through.
Yeah, he's just sunk into this, thinking, I'm invincible. And now, this is the thing. You see, he got away with what he was doing with Russia and thought he could carry on. And yeah, it's just, he's got even more brazen to the point where it's like, dude, this is impossible to hide. That's the thing. I've seen, I remember sort of like, I was working in a restaurant. One of our managers got fired, and it was because he was cooking the books to manage some unwritten down losses. So if you imagine sometimes if you just don't write down your losses or whatever like that, and there got to be a bit of a time when there wasn't losses being written down, and it got bad. And he was basically like kind of going, I can't charge you guys for all of this, but we're in real trouble here. We've got to get this back. So if you're going to write down your loss, write it down twice. So we can get this back. And he just wanted to basically just get the books back to normal. That's all. He was actually quite a decent boss, and so much so that when this got found out, because one of the managers of a lesser restaurant for some reason or another decided that they'd just forget that day. I consider this person a bit of a climber. But yeah, it took them exactly the amount of time that it took for his pension thing to kick in, so he was okay there for them to fire him. So they just held off for his little inquiry until his pension had been sorted out and all that sort of thing. You know, it's if you could call that a kind of corruption, if you will.
So I suppose the real question about Trump is, how many prime ministers until Trump is gone?
But what I'm saying is that sometimes when you do these sort of things, even if you're doing it for the right reasons and for good reasons, you can get caught out by it. Now, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and you keep doing it for the wrong reasons, eventually you get too brazen and you get caught. And so now he's got himself caught, and the thing is, of course, this could actually unlock a bit of a Pandora's box for him. He already thought he was fucked with the first guy. Now he got away with that, and thought, okay then. And now he's really fucked. Lol. I mean, well done for lasting this long. I said 2 years. So, well done.
I said he's going to complete the first term, and I still think that.
1 second.
Yep.
Have a European drop.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's amalgamation of things. First of all, there's a lot of Republicans that wouldn't leave Trump no matter what. For them, it's playing for a team. It's not about principle. And also, I don't have any faith in the Democrats to do anything right anyway. They're kind of...
They're busy ripping each other apart quite happily.
They're just fucking idiots, so... yeah, I don't think they'll be able to pull this off either. But yeah, I would love to be proven wrong. Who knows? I might be proven wrong.
Well, and Britain might stay in the EU.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I mean, I go from bouts of complete and utter despair to maybe.
I mean, if you're gonna stay in the EU,
again.
Fox, if you're gonna stay in the EU, please put Farage in jail forever and declare his party terrorist organization. Please, just any sort of UKIP or Brexit party, just make it illegal. Just no. You can be in opposition, but if you're gonna be a fucking wrecker, no, you're a terrorist. Sorry. It's
at the rate of the Brexit stuff is happening right now, and for the past few years, I think what's going to happen is that we're going to get it dragged on and on and on until there is some sort of government majority that is anti-Brexit, and they're just going to cancel it.
But there has been a government majority that's anti-no Brexit for over a year now.
Yeah, it's going to take more of a majority than this. So,
also, I mean, the EU has said no more extensions, so it's.
They'll give them an extension when they ask. When they ask, they'll give them an extension.
No,
they will.
The EU doesn't want to give short extensions anymore.
It's
We're
going to be
probably
a
getting a 2-year or a year extension. Hell, there's even a joke floating around from a French civil servant where the French don't want to give an extension and then have to come back and give another one, so they might just go for it as good as forever clause. So we could potentially get a 99-year extension and then have this conversation in 99 years' time after doing nothing in the meantime, but being forced to go through the whole environmental stuff so civilization can keep going.
Yeah, that would be a thing.
Well, the thing is, at the what they're looking at the present is that basically next week there's a no confidence vote in the government. That passes. Sorry, not in the government, in the Prime Minister. Then what happens is the opposition parties have a 14-day period in which to get together a majority government. Well, basically,
14.
a national, what's it called? A government of national interest or something. And basically, all the minority parties get together and say, "Yep, we're going to do it," and we can form a government, we have a majority, and they toddle off to Liz, and they say, "This is our new Prime Minister." He then goes to the EU, which is and says, "Can we have an extension? This is what we want to do." Basically, our plan is we get a nice long extension. We then
Actually, do the
have
work.
a new referendum, make a deal. We'll then hash out a deal that's okay with you. Go back to because we're now the majority government. We can get that through Parliament. We then go to the people and say, "This is the deal. Do you want this, or do you want to remain?"
No, stop asking for fucking confirmation by the people. I've had enough of this. Stop asking the fucking people, because you know what happens in the meantime? The Murdoch press starts stoking up the fucking anti-EU shit again. Stop asking the people. You ask the people after you burn Rupert Murdoch's newspapers to the fucking ground.
Well, you won't have seen the Mail on Sunday, will you? Their front page says, "Number 10 is probing the Remain MPs for foreign collusion." And the Mail on Sunday has exposed a plot to let Burko send surrender letter to Brussels.
Like I said, stop asking the fucking people.
Oh, so they read a part of the Code of Conduct of the Executive Office of the UK, which expresses if the Prime Minister refuses to carry out something they are lawfully required to, the Speaker has the ability and the authority to step in as an interim leader to ensure that the requirements are carried out if no one else is willing or capable of doing them.
Basically.
Something which is actually intended for bills to be put to the House and have votes called. Like, for example, if the Prime Minister and their deputy is sick but there's still the party bill to go ahead, it's the Speaker's job to present the bill.
Is it the Speaker or is it the leader of the House? No, I'm sorry.
It's the Speaker's job to present the bill and put it forward, then it's the leader of the House's job to carry the bill as if it's their own.
Oh god, I'm just looking at fucking Katie Hopkins tweeting.
Oh, don't. Did you have to?
It's better for your mental health to avoid her.
Why is she still alive? Why isn't she being put in a euthanasia program, please?
Because that's not the solution for everything.
Don't you have an insane asylum in the UK? Just stick Johnson, Rees-Mogg, Gove, and all these other people in there.
Luca, we're a monarchy, so rich people don't get sectioned here.
And this is why I think you guys should have a French Revolution. Because you know what it did, that revolution? It scared the shit out of the aristocracy and went, oh fuck, right, they outnumber us, so let's try not to be dicks to them or push them too far.
Yeah, but there's one small problem. It's exactly the kind of people who would fight the French Revolution are the ones we want to keep out of power. Because the pissed off angry masses who will turn to violence are the Brexiteers.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
you seriously don't want to deal with that, yeah.
Yep, and the army reckons there might be martial law.
Oh, goody. So when are you guys gonna collapse into a bunch of warlord states?
We're not going to collapse into a warlord state. We're going to be a banana republic without bananas.
Rhubarb Republic.
What?
Don't be silly.
Why would there be a martial law, though?
Well, if you've gone for any of the Yellowhammer stuff, there's predictions of wide-scale rioting in it. And that's the most likely outcome, not the worst case.
Yeah, it's the food shortage. I mean, people might have noticed something, food shortages, drug shortages, fuel shortages. I mean, fuck it, But hey, where will I get me patty foie gras from?
Yeah, but you know, prosperity and stuff.
Well, we are the country which had okay, let's just call it what it was. A mini riot over the fact KFC ran out of chicken.
Well, to be fair, I mean, people were phoning 999. We have no chicken at KFC.
Yep, a few thousand complaints of that. About 20 people rioted in one of the stores.
You serious?
Yeah. We've now had this
When did
entire
that
country
happen?
stoked up to the maximum point of anger, and we're about to face a shortage of everything. What do you think will happen?
So, yeah, just call 999 and be like, well, there's no food in the grocery store.
No,
No.
well, we'd love
We
to
got-
attend, but we've got no fuel for the police car.
I reckon
It's
Brexiteers
just-
are going to attack Remainers, trying to get because they think they've hoarded all the supplies.
Well, I've got a stockpile of medication to last me until the end of the year. So on the 31st, I'm going to jump off the wagon in such a way that I will be just absolutely arseholed out of my head. Any pills I've got, left over, I'm just going to do it. Fuck it. End of the year, end of life, because it's going to be that bad. And at least I go out on my terms then. Why are you?
I
kicking
don't-
me?
I doubt it would be that bad. Like it's going in that trajectory right now, but I don't think it's like I think the best case, like the most likely scenario is going to be one of those like EU giving you an extension for like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years and be like, figure it out later, and eventually people are just going to forget about Brexit.
I wish. One of the scary things, I mean... Oh, Mithved's gone. No, lost it. Sorry.
You're still
I've
here.
lost my thoughts.
Oh, okay.
Not that I had many
Sorry about
anyway,
that.
but...
Glasses emergency. Yeah, I'm
Welcome
arguing with a
back.
Brexiter right now who just doesn't get what's going on in Parliament right now. You know, they are doing whatever they can to stall Parliament, stall everything, to make sure a no deal is inevitable. There's no way that anyone, unless they're trying really hard, can't see what's going on here.
And you absolutely know that if this fucking collapses and destroys everything, they'll run the fuck away. It's like, it's not
Well,
our
no,
fault.
they're not going to run away, mate. They're going to be waiting in the aisles, watching industries collapsing and buying it all up. That's the whole point. They're going to
And
short
that's-
the pound. They're going to make sure that they make an absolute mint.
Robert, I'm not talking about Rees-Mogg. I'm talking the fucking gammon on the street who still think that the Empire is still there.
Well, those lot are going to, obviously, they're never going to understand what they've done. Because they're going to be sitting there kind of going, yeah, sovereignty. And that's all that really matters. Some sort of weird symbolic bullshit where they can sort of they're still angry at the Argentinians for beating them at football.
They joined a cult. It's
Yeah.
really hard to program people when they've been in the cult.
They-
Oh, God.
Like I said, if some people, if you can get them to wake up in your dream, they always think that nobody, that's the whole sort of thing about sort of like the cult thing, is that, these people think that they're awake now. They think that they're onto the con. But all they are is just conned into thinking that they're onto the con. That's the state of play. What are you going to do?
Yay.
Steel beams, mate. Steel beams. They don't melt. Not without the right amount of jet fuel.
Lots of kinetic energy slammed into them.
Nope, steel beams are designed for planes to fly into them. Because don't you know the Twin Towers were designed to have a plane-proof building?
Because that's everybody makes buildings that are plane-proof.
Yeah, although it was designed for a site the size of a police helicopter to crash into it.
Make sure white's whiter than white. Designed to have a plane going through it. Yeah, maybe they had that in, an idea.
So
But
I've
no.
just had there was a quote somewhere on my Twitter feed that Giuliani's just come out with. That basically, we never had any Far Eastern terrorist attacks before Obama.
Yeah, he actually
Uh,
forgot that he
what?
was talking about that beforehand. The guy literally just sort of like said a bunch of stuff about 9/11, and then just says that, and it's like, dude, on your own watch, the fuck?
Yeah,
You were there.
You were the mayor of the
Yeah.
fucking place.
Yeah, he mentions 9/11, then forgets about 9/11 the very same sentence afterwards.
Yeah, when it's convenient. I think the problem with Obama is that he was black, and the American people don't like black people being in charge of the country.
Well, that's an
Honestly.
easy and poignant point of view. I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. It could be that he wasn't a Republican. That helps.
Yeah.
He didn't have enough wives and mistresses. When you think back, his biggest scandal was either wearing a tan suit
Or not wearing a tie.
No.
Or his wife having a cock. I remember that one.
No, there's he had a selfie stick in the White House.
How dare he disgrace the White House with that?
He was practicing hoops in the White House.
He had a Nintendo Wii. I remember that one being a scandal too.
Motherfucker.
Well, crucify him.
Don't forget the worst one he did out of all of them. Turned up every day on the job in blackface.
Yeah, and there was also Libya, of course. But apart from Libya, yeah, he did all right.
It's just unbelievable the amounts. I mean, the man had one wife, 2 children. Oh, that was the other thing. His wife used to have bare arms.
Yeah, and basically he spent most of his career cleaning up the mess of a bunch of old white dudes who complained that he didn't do it fast enough.
It's just...
Yep. And don't forget, he did cause the 2008 financial crash and then spent the entire time making it worse for Trump to come in and make the thing amazingly all of a sudden. I mean, it's not like that stuff takes decades to fix. Oh, wait, that's exactly what didn't happen.
So there's a lady I know in Australia, and she's just tweeted, it feels like the Brits are trying to overcompensate for the old stereotypes of being prim, proper and modest.
Modesty. When were the British ever modest in their whole fucking career? I mean, Jesus Christ. You keep banging on about fucking World War II every single day of the fucking week. It's like, yeah, we saved you guys from the Nazis. It's like, yeah, thanks. That was 50 years ago. What have you done now? Winston Churchill, Dunkirk. It's like that's literally having to do with you guys. It's the old guy who still thinks like the war stories that he used to tell still carry weight. It's like, yeah, impressive, mate. What have you been doing now?
There's one of the backbench Tory MPs who basically, whenever there's comments goes on, when we go on to Brexit, his first, within 30 seconds of him standing up to speak, it's, my father was killed, or, yeah, my father was killed in World War II.
Oh, that's Pudding Mark Francois.
And who gives a shit?
No, it's not Mark Francois, it's I think it's Bill Cash, but I wouldn't like to swear on it.
I'd just like to say, by the way, people who are, have got sort of anti-Antifa images running around, and somebody saying, well, it's not a hate symbol. Sorry, guys. If you're anti-Antifa, that just means you're the far bit. That's sort of the point. You can't, like, double up. If you are a fascist, they're against you. Now, I know there's a lot of you that don't like that. Now, if you try not to actually bring guns to your protests, then you wouldn't look quite so dangerous. Just saying.
Or hammers.
I say this to the Antifa group as well. Could you just sort of like not give them this sort of fuel? Because that's all they're doing, really. You're just handing them targets, little black spindly targets to beat up. And that's all very well and good, but we'd rather them just be escorted by 25 police officers in front of mothers and children, kind of going, see that guy over there? He's a dick, darling. Why is that? Because he wants your friends who are at school to leave the country. Why? That sounds really dickish, Mum. They go, well, because they're not got the same colour skin as him. Well, isn't he a prick? Yes, he is, darling.
Just leave it up to the populace. Like, when Vernaculus ended up surrounded in his little gazebo by like 30,000 people, and that made him uncomfortable.
What?
You don't remember that?
I'm not aware of this. I've managed to avoid this. Say that again.
Yeah, there was, I think it was in Boston. And Vernaculus was like going off on how free speech wasn't necessarily getting the platform that it deserved from his gazebo of like 5 people, and one of them happened to be like crypto-fasci, and he was like being all annoyed when 30,000 people showed up post Charlottesville in order to like have their protest. And at that point in time I was like, look dude, it's not about you anymore. At that point 30,000 people showed up. Like, who the fuck cares about you?
Yeah.
I didn't even realise Vernaculus was like that thing.
Yeah, he was.
I kind of feel sorry for Vernaculus, in a way. He's sort of one of those guys who kind of like, he could have been sort of sensible, but he decided to sort of follow along with that group, but not really enough to be worth bothering with. So he sort of got drawn into it, and like anyone saying to him, dude, are you sure about this? Or like, he's like, fuck off, I know what I'm doing. It's like, okay. And it's like, I was looking at, remember that business with Anita? And they're all sitting there sort of like eyeballing her while she's doing a thing. And remarkably, she's like, fuck that guy. I was like, what, you're surprised?
Yeah.
You're shocked by that statement? What, you honestly, you're going to say you're being bullied? Oh, come on, mate, please.
She handled it pretty well considering she's a victim of harassment.
Yeah. And I was just saying to Vernaculus, man, I thought you knew better than to go down this route. It just looks really lame. And it's like, but, right, fine. Off you go. A lot of these guys are like this. They sort of get drawn into this when anyone sort of steps on them and just kind of goes, dude, you got a chance here.
Yeah.
You're just going to get sold. Once you're down that line, isn't it? You sort of like get drawn along for a hell of a long time, and you just get grazed with this bullshit.
Thankfully, like a couple of people have seen the light and have moved on. Well, this was like after the whole like, let's boycott Patreon thing. Or like everybody unsubscribed from Patreon as a result of that.
That taught Patreon a lesson, didn't it?
Well,
Didn't that just act as a quality filter?
Yeah, it's like it's for creators, not complainers about creation.
Taught all the smaller channels a lesson for, following people like Carl.
What you should do is you should get yourself a little YouTube channel, make up a pay system for it, that sort of thing. Call it, I don't know, Smart Mouth. And yeah, boom, there you go. There's your idea. Make it a bit like YouTube, but more commenty or whatever like that, yeah. And then see how long before you end up having to moderate it.
I was gonna call mine Thinky Place.
Thinky Place. Think Space.
But
Think Space. Think Space.
The thing about Thinky Place is that there's only one member, and it's me, and that's always going to be the case.
How about Head Air?
Yeah,
Oh God, Robin, check out this tweet from Lara Trump. Just look at
Lara
that.
Trump?
Yes.
Why am I listening to Lara Trump now?
Who's Lara Trump?
Because
No idea.
look at the sort of picture she put up.
I think they are trying to impeach this at the moment. It's called gerrymandering, ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Bitch, the rules are the rules, and if you want to live in a country where you don't have to follow the rules, move to an oligarchical Russia.
Or fuck off back to your own country. Hey, you don't want to abide by the rules? Well, you guys are the first one to break them, so yeah.
I have a feeling he's going to have to after he pardons himself.
Does anybody want a bit more on Jennifer R. Curry's now £700,000 loan from Johnson?
You know, I'm wondering before you say that, actually, I'm wondering if Trump will actually try to fire the USA before he gets impeached.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to quit. You're fired. It's like, Mr. Trump.
That's not how it
Donald.
works.
Yeah.
I'm just going to wait till he jumps on aircraft one and flies off to Moscow.
Yeah, this is. I can imagine it later on in sort of like you know, the next few years, and it's sort of like the Hall of Fame of presidents and stuff like that, and it's like every time you get to 44, there's this really, really small bit between that and 46. It's like we don't really talk about 45. What happened? Nothing happened. It was a brief moment where everyone went a bit mad.
Have you ever
okay
noticed
now.
that, like, when you go from elevator floor 1 to, 12, and then...
Yeah. He's like the 13th floor of presidents.
Exactly.
Or like in an airplane where you don't have aisle 13, it just skips a number.
You know what? I did make one prediction, though, and I got that right, which was, this is going to make the Democrats eat their words. And those words being, George Bush was the worst fucking president ever.
You know what? I made a prediction, and I thought it would have happened by now. I thought that they would have been in Iran, to be quite frank.
Yeah, but that's the thing, you see, is that even George Bush was competent enough to get a war going.
Yeah, Trump fired Bolton. You know, the biggest pusher for.
What do you mean he didn't
war with
start?
Iran?
He didn't start a war. He couldn't. There is a difference. Nobody believed him when he tried.
You know what it might be? It might be that they don't want him to be the one who's going to be the wartime president because they can't trust him.
I mean, they can't trust him already. As far as I was aware, they don't actually give him all the intel. Really, well, what's the point anyway? Because it's all written down on paper and stuff.
Well, he's just going to
Without bullet
tweet it
points.
out like a fucking moron.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Iran, I found out your secret where your base is. It's like, okay, thank you.
No, that's not the problem. That's not the problem. That would require him paying attention to it. From what I understand, that they've been literally making sure that it's all sort of... Imagine, like, like Glenn Beck. You know how he explains bullshit to people? He's got his little board up and stuff like that. That's how they're doing it with him. They're literally they're having to explain international sort of shit to this guy through infographics.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like, one of the things that they have to get Trump not to do is talk to other world leaders, because he's just going to end up, like, giving the barn to them.
I think that eventually they're all going to just have a bit of a meeting around Trump, and it's just going to go, so we've got a year more of him, have we? Yeah. So let's just all pretend that whatever he says to us, we just ignore. Just do that. Yeah, just all of us will just nod and along with him and whatever like that, and then just kind of go. And then when he complains about it, kind of go, I was trying, but it didn't happen. Sorry.
What do we do with that guy in the UK, though? I don't know.
He's not really any trouble. He just is basically just circling around anyway, talking to himself. So fuck it. What do we do about Britain? It's going to do it all on its own.
They're gonna collapse on their own.
I mean, like I said, it is getting to the point where everyone's sitting there kind of going, so second referendum then? I mean, Jesus. Are you sure?
Yeah. And I think the best thing about if there happens to be a second referendum, the Brexiteers are going to stay home. Good. There you go. You've just basically forfeited your right to speak ever, according to your own logic. So, bye.
Anyway, Fox, you were talking about Johnson and all of that money.
Hella.
That was it, Jennifer Arcuri?
Arcuri. I posted the link in the chat, and then I was looking up something else. Bollocks, 2 seconds.
So an entrepreneur, Jennifer Arcuri, whose friendship with Boris Johnson is subject of a police watchdog investigation. Whoa! Loaned more than £700,000 to her own fledgling technology company shortly before it won a £100,000 government grant. It's unclear where the money channeled into Hacker House, a startup with hardly any income, came from, which adds to the mystery swirling around the American businessman woman before this week's Tory conference and raises further questions for the government. Yay! Could it just keeps coming, doesn't it? Really?
It's just like, oh, she's being sued in the US over an unpaid $100,000 student loan. Oh dear. It's the gift that just keeps giving.
This is
isn't it?
why you shouldn't loan people money for their education, because they end up doing really desperate things.
Well,
Like-
the problem lies that like 2/3 of the people who apply for student loans, they don't finish school.
Well, of course, and then you end up having to suck on to Mr. Johnson here.
Oh, please don't.
What? What did I say? I didn't say that.
Sucking is Johnson.
No, sucking onto Mr. Johnson like a leech for money.
All right.
That's what I was
Sorry.
saying. Where were you going? You dirty
Leeching
little
somewhere.
boy.
Leeching lower down.
You see, you really got to. I'm trying to keep the tone up here, and you just got to just swing my penis right into the gutter. I'm going to catch something on that.
He's
Shit.
sucking on your penis now.
Anyway,
That's why
let's not devolve.
That's why I think the whole student loan position, like I've had Steve and Destiny like argue this position that like student loans is entirely beneficial and that they're great for society. It's like, well, 2/3 of the people are graduating, so that's a deficit. So if you got 152% inflation rate on a fucking service that like nobody's benefiting from, that's not a good thing. So you kind of have to address that problem. Otherwise, people are not going to have buying power when they come to the job market.
Front page of the Sunday Express.
You moron.
Boris would win election in jail.
No, you wouldn't, because you're not legally allowed to run for parliament if you're in jail during the election.
Bobby Sands was an MP. 1984 hunger strikes, IRA.
Yeah, Lord Change Tony Blair.
All right, cheers.
Like I honestly start feeling like I'm the guy from Idiocracy. Like I'm not the smartest person in the room, and I'm not like that adept, but like I just have these basic skills that get me by, and that everybody else is just trying to like ram a square peg in a fucking round hole.
But you mean you are the smartest person in the room, but you shouldn't be.
Exactly. I hate that feeling.
I mean,
That's literally how the entire UN felt when England started to speak. Well, Trump made a surprise talk in climate change.
yeah, I just rewatched the entire quote-unquote speech of Boris Johnson. I'm like thinking, we're supposed to respect the UK. Why again?
Okay, Luca, how?
I have a lot of patience, believe me.
No. How did you watch it and understand it?
I didn't. I was just looking at this man just going on and on and on like an old person reminiscing about the good old days. I'm sitting there thinking, how is the UK supposed to be respected when this is the guy in charge?
I have huge respect for the UK. I respect their entertainment industry. There's a lot of people that I've met here on the open house that I think are exceptional. It's just that the politicians on the other side of the aisle are complete blithering idiots, and they're driving you off the cliff along with them. So it's not your fault.
Kind of is for the bit of the shared collective responsibility of people keep voting for them.
I agree.
Well, things got bad when we had a certain Michael Gove turning round and saying, "What do experts know?"
But some people decided not to vote at all.
Well, the problem is that people decided that I don't need to vote because we're going to remain anyway.
Yeah, I'll sit this one out.
And it's like, I have heard that argument, I mean, even idiot brains. Farage said he didn't expect to win. He even said he even gave up half. That night. Oh, we're lost. We've lost. We had a good fight, but we've lost.
That was probably to make the pound spike a little bit before jumping down again.
Oh yeah, he made a fortune that night, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I feel at a second referendum, people will show up. Hopefully. I'd like to think that my hope in humanity is not completely dashed.
I would
I'm
expect
actually
they
against
would.
the second ref now.
But I think people are a lot better they now know, look, if we go out, especially on a no deal, your grand's meds are going to go. She's going to, people, this is what it's going to do to your country. We will have, our farmers will go out, the Welsh farming industry, gone. The fishing industry, screwed.
And that's just all Project Fear hysteria.
All this Project Fear hype that's now turning out to be not quite so hype.
No, it is just Project Fear hysteria, and it's run by the Remain establishment and the Remain papers trying to besmirch the good name of Brexit. Look, I've seen enough of this country in second referendum because I know that white swathes of the country are going to believe that. And revoking is probably the best option we have.
Yeah, revoke and then do this. You close on the Murdoch press forever, and you declare the Brexit party and the UKIP party terrorists. Done.
No, we just revoke. And doing that will be enough of a damper to make it so it takes a couple of years for Brexit to come back, and by then there hasn't been the drip feed of propaganda for Brexit at all costs, Brexit, 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 that we've had constantly 24/7 in this country for 3 years now. We've moved the line from going, Norway, wouldn't it be brilliant to be just like Norway, in the single market but not at the table, to who said we want to trade with Europe?
To Europe is a terrorist organization.
Yeah. That was covered. Who said we want to trade with Europe?
And again, how the hell is the EU supposed to be friendly to you guys? Look, I want some fucking assurance that you guys aren't gonna send Farage back. Okay?
Unfortunately, due to free elections means we can't do that.
Who gives a fuck about free elections? You prove that your country is a free country.
I do. Much as I would love not to have Farage around, unfortunately, I know we have to. I mean, fuck's sake, we keep voting for Tories, and have you seen what they do to people?
Yep. I mean, what is it? Austerity is comparable to intentional eugenics?
I've got a great idea. Here's what we do. We dress some guy up with like a long beard and stuff like that. And everybody has a meeting. We all agree that it's going to be a paid actor. He's going to be Jesus. It's going to be the second coming. And then we make it so that he turns water into wine and everything. And then he starts talking about another flood. So we build a giant ark and we get all of these people on board the ark, and then we set sail, and then we scuttle the ship.
You're getting as bad as bloody Luca. Can we do it? Can we do it in the Mediterranean? Then you can have that stupid Canadian woman going over there and shooting at them.
Oh, good. Then we'll have an excuse to shoot.
Laura Southern. She can go out and shoot at them. Kill two birds with one stone.
Yes, and then the Italian Marine and Coast Guard will just empty a whole magazine to her corpse and then dump her into the fucking ocean. I like this idea.
I plan on getting her on the ship.
Between her and Katie Hopkins, Julia Hartley Brewer, there's another one we can throw on there.
So, the People's Party of Canada, which is like the UKIP of Canada at the moment, but a little bit more. I'd say it's more like the EDL.
Do they want to be annexed by the USA?
There's a member who is presenting himself in my writing, who's going to be part of this election, and their fundraising campaign is going to take part at a Lebanese restaurant.
I bet the Lebanese loved that one. You want that in our restaurant? Come right in, my friend. Come right in.
I sent him an email. So we'll see what happens with that.
You're trying to no platform them from a Lebanese restaurant.
Yeah.
There are going to be
Sounds like
so
it.
many. There are going to be so many parts of human anatomy that shouldn't be in the rubbed all over their food.
I want the freedom to spout racist bullshit in a Lebanese restaurant. I want that right. I need that right. You're getting in the way of that, I feel.
Did you see the guy from? He was on LBC on Eddie Mair's show a couple of days ago. I think it was Thursday. Could have been Friday. It could. Who basically says, "Well, if we have this, if they insist on this second referendum, I'm leaving the country." And here he goes. Well, where are you going to go? Somewhere in Europe.
Let me read you the email I sent. There we go. I said, hello, my name is Pascal Lewis.
Always a good start.
And I'm a resident of the Ottawa-Vanier district. I was hoping this email could reach your manager, for matters of consideration. I'm a little perplexed as to why your establishment would facilitate an organization such as the People's Party of Canada. Perhaps you are unaware of what this party stands for, or perhaps you chose to avoid bringing in politics to your business. Ultimately,
that's a nice restaurant you got there. Would be a shame.
Ultimately, this is entirely your call, but consider the platform they're running on. Then I link their
your choice, buddy.
Their multiculturalism policy. Now, to me, this is kind of statement is completely un-Canadian. Part of this country's culture and values are built on individuals that come here and have diversified this nation. This is how one builds a collective kingships and moves forward globally to live as though the world is as it should be, it can be. This is a party that's looking to dismantle this and replace it with their own version of culture, which is nebulous, divisive, and only makes our country weaker. Considering the writing we're in,
you are.
and the fact that this place helped me connect to the humanity which permeates within all fellow Canadians, I felt the need to write you and give you a heads up.
Oh my god.
Thanks for your time.
You did labour that a bit.
Well,
Yeah, just a little.
I'm
for
an
Canadian,
excellent
it was
writer.
very polite.
Should have gone,
To a
dude,
fault.
you got Nazis coming to your restaurant, watch out.
I'm just there to try to, let them know, in case they didn't.
Oh,
Hey,
jeez.
I'm trying to eat toast. Do you know how hard this is?
Why? Because your mouth.
I can get one middle finger through my teeth. That's about
I'm
it.
gonna need dentures anyways, so I'm kind of feeling it. Not quite as much, but I feel your pain.
I can help with that.
What,
Dentures?
making his face hurt?
I must admit, when I had my jaw dislocated, because that's what they do when they take your wisdom teeth out. They pop your jaw.
Didn't happen to mine.
As long as I'm good and drunk, or unconscious, as you're pulling the teeth out.
Well, my old man was a dentist, and I did some work on his at the back of the surgery once, and he was I think he whipped out 8 teeth in about 5 minutes, and it just any thought I had of going into dentistry, that was just no. No. That was just like you can almost still hear the plink of a tooth into the steel dish that you drop them into.
You click on that and then click on somewhere.
It's such a satisfying sound, though.
What's wrong with you?
Is that Boys from the Brazil? Is it Boys from Brazil? One of those kind of things, wasn't it?
The boys from Elvita Same Pet.
Yeah.
Wow, firefighting shotgun. Cool.
Oh, you've seen that?
I like
Yes.
that. It's a good plan. It's a good idea.
Shoots a small jet of water at 234 miles an hour.
Well, it doesn't even need to be water, to be honest. Compressed air would do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it. I mean, probably best would be something that is kind of sticky. So you sort of like, just a little blob of something that maybe evaporates afterwards. That would make sense, It's still a very good idea. It looks
Yeah,
fun.
but thermogel is really, really toxic.
Sorry?
Thermal gels tend to be kind of toxic and bad for the environment.
No, I wasn't saying a thermal gel. Just anything that sort of like is just going to sort of like degrade on its own afterwards.
Sticky, take the heat out, evaporates. Thermal gel.
Sticky stuff can go and get rained on, you know. I'm not expecting it to last, you know.
Slug slime.
Yeah, that
There
kind
you
of
go.
stuff. That's what I'm talking about. Nothing sort of like permanent. As long as the thing is, all it's got to do is hold oxygen away from it for a few microseconds. That's all you really need.
Hmm.
And then you got your non-fire. I mean, that's what it's about, isn't it? You just spit. Yeah, have it just so it sort of spits on it. You know.
Okay,
about-
so
What about
headline.
like
Go on, Pascal. Get through it.
what about like a helicopter with a huge dome that would like go over the house and then just suck all the oxygen?
A house-shaped dome.
Hey, Robin, check out this tweet. It says that Boris Johnson could declare state of emergency to push through no deal Brexit. So, does declare martial law to push through a no deal Brexit.
Nope, can't.
No, he can't, because no single party in this country can declare martial law.
I'm turning 40 on Tuesday, by the way.
40 kids. Why's it giving me that? I have no idea. Too many devices. It's getting ridiculous.
Really?
Sunday Express, Boris would win election in jail. Remainers step up 33 spots, but supporters say nothing could stop him delivering Brexit.
Yeah, this at all costs business has starting to get a little out of hand here, guys.
Yeah. At all costs. Okay, commit suicide. Then we'll give you your no deal Brexit, and then they'll do it, and then you stop it.
That was me trying to get attention from you, Mooks, by the way. I'm going to be turning 40 on Tuesday.
So, I'm 42. Fuck you. What, you think you've earned something there?
You go to hell
50
and
fucking 7.
Yeah, shut your mouth, Litland. You're a pup.
I'm just trying to work out when I was last in Canada. You're right, son.
Exactly,
Who
you'd
do
be
you
fine.
think you are, Boris Johnson?
He hasn't gone on long enough.
What happened in Canada stays in Canada.
Illegitimate love children do not stay in Canada.
I didn't do anything like that. Too busy getting pissed.
So yeah.
Oh.
So I'm wondering who's going first, Johnson or Trump? Place your bets. I'm reckoning Johnson. Yeah, I'm reckoning Johnson.
Johnson.
How long do you reckon he's got, guys, at this point? Because he hasn't got a majority.
About if he's lucky, Friday. I think it's going to be that soon.
I reckon it's going to be the 4th of... What month is it? Thanks. 4th of October or the 2nd of November. No, sorry, that's a Saturday. 4th of November.
I'll say that it won't be impeachment that gets Trump. It's going to be a stroke.
It's going to be a stroke.
Yeah.
What, as he reads the impeachment?
Is that off some prostitute that he's going to pay £100,000 for?
Maybe. I just think like he's probably had several at this point in time, and nobody's noticed. So he's just going to have the big one.
Look, strokes aren't necessarily lethal. Just look at Boris Johnson.
Well, I mean, like his parents should have decided to stroke instead of having that kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, just looking at what the bookies are interested in betting on, and it is now 52% probable for the bookies that Mr. Johnson's going to either resign or be booted out. So now the bookies have just gone over 50%. That was 20% not, a couple of months ago. So it's gone from 6 to 4 to 10 to 11.
You know, I have to say that's pretty damn impressive for 8 days of parliamentary time.
I am kind of, as far as like the opposition to all of this is concerned, I'm very disappointed in them though, because it's like none of them have actually said why Johnson wanted to call the election so early.
Because he was ahead in polls and he can defer the election and delay it like Tony Blair and David Cameron both did.
Well, no, it was due to the fact that it was around the time. It would have been around the time that students are basically moving house.
Oh yeah, that as well.
So that would seriously degrade any vote against them. You see. So that's why they were going for it. Why do you think they went for sort of around the time with Theresa May? That little bit of confusion can do a lot of damage.
Yep.
Because kids are stupid. Half of them don't vote as it is. And they're disorganised, because everyone's disorganised, but they're even worse when you're in your 20s. Right. The Sunday Express says Boris would win election in jail.
Yeah. I've shown you that.
Remainers step up dirty tricks plot, but supporters say nothing could stop him delivering Brexit. Dirty tricks to stop Boris Johnson. It's always dirty tricks.
What?
It's like,
you mean pointing at the law?
What dirty tricks do you think? It's like you're literally they're running the country like the producer, and then saying there's all these dirty tricks. What amazes me more than anything else is the level of the quality of stupidity that comes out from this, and that people fall for this shit. Because I mean, it is, you just got to look. You've just got to look, but people just don't look. They just, you've heard this. Oh yeah, they made all these promises for this, that, and the other. And then eventually, once the fact that none of that has been addressed at all, they always break, and they kind of go, none of that mattered. I didn't listen to any of that. I'd already made my mind up. So you knew from day one, the moment that referendum business had been called, that you were going to go for a no-deal WTO Brexit. You just knew that was what was going to happen.
I mean, yeah, that's why the Tories got so many votes when they promised the referendum.
It's utter codswallop. And these people are just willing to just lie to themselves to just keep this thing going. Because, well, they're lying anyway, so it's okay. It's like, nobody's lying to you, mate. That's the problem that you have here. My favourite is when somebody, they're kind of going, that politician that you're quoting is lying, and here's why. And they go, all politicians lie. Like, so... And you're repeating said lie. You haven't got out of the fact that this person is lying. But all politicians lie. Once again, you're still stuck in the fact that this person is lying. Do you not care then, if politicians lie? It seems not.
Yeah, it's okay,
so
when,
weird.
it's okay when their side lies. It's okay when their side lies, cheats, and scares people. But if the other side does it, that's treason.
No, even if the other side doesn't do it, I'm going to make up that they have. Is the answer that I'm getting. I remember, I remember Paul Joseph Watson was all very, very happy that the weather was bad on that day for the referendum, because he was hoping for low turnout.
Was it?
Yeah.
Quite nice.
Low turnout tends to lead to extremism.
There again, it was.
If you want the peanut gallery to win, you want to make sure that everybody else hasn't turned up.
Well, yeah, low turnout always aids the Tories anyway.
Or UKIP in the EU elections.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you've gone, mate.
Oh, Brexit.
The Brexit Party, who aren't a party, who don't have elections, they don't have an MP, they have
And they're promising
amazing
hundreds of seats, weren't they?
They've got amazing finances, but no one knows where it's come from.
Yeah, there is one thing I'm actually quite looking forward to in the next election, because there's a massively underspoken about sector of the UK public. One Nation Conservatives and people who voted Remain in the Conservative Party. Because with the Lib Dems taking a small step to the right, with allowing in so many Tories and changing their policies at their last conference. I reckon they are going to eat up Conservative voters and Blair's Labour. So we could see an interesting mix come out of it.
I was from the side chat in YouTube. Dara has read the comments on the Johnson speech video. Some people think his speech is good.
Yeah, and at this point, you've got to ask,
Who?
Are these people insane?
what bluster is required for you? By the way, if you are swearing in here, it keeps on asking me to okay it for some reason or another. I don't understand. I thought I'd left this chat open, but...
You need to reconfigure it again. They changed it to be defaulted to, black out all naughty words. So.
Well, now it's open.
So.
The sluices are open now. I think. I don't know.
Oh my god! Look at this Ben Garrison cartoon.
No.
Just
we have to.
I have brain cells left.
just
No, I refuse. I think I'm allowed to decide for myself if I want my eyeballs broken.
I never understood the passion for people in cringe. Like, and this is especially like true of ladies as well. They'll like show me these things. It's like, have you seen this? And then I'll look at it and I'm like, okay. And then you get upset when I'm proud of like sharing a picture of this very fine dump that I took this morning. I don't get you.
Here you go. Here's the spitting image. Another spitting image character. The best one you can see.
Oh, boring joke.
True, but it's a good one.
Not really.
She really
I
is
will rate jokes because I'm fucking hilarious and I know what's funny and that's not funny. It's really lowbrow.
Again, I don't get the point of spitting image comeback. It's just going to be for factual news.
it's gonna be a documentary.
No. I just pegged it. It's going to be factual news.
Well done, mate. Kill it. Anyway, yeah. So, how is Johnson doing exactly at this point, apart from basically G'ing up political hatred, calling the Ben Act the, what was it, the...
Surrender Act.
The Surrender Act, wasn't it?
A treasonous piece of paper.
I mean, the fact that this person is mislabeling this, I don't understand why that's not parliamentary. I don't understand why nobody's saying that that's unparliamentary, because he's basically referring to a document that doesn't exist.
The fucking surrender what?
There is no Surrender Act here. This is the thing. That's not the name of said act. So you're just sitting there kind of going, I'm not here to, what the hell are you talking about? I would be sitting there kind of going, Burko, tell us what the fucking act is called, you idiot. People got to write this shit down. Forget all the other bluster.
I'm just saying, in his mind, surrender what exactly to what? What exactly is the UK surrendering to?
Stupidity.
Look. In any negotiation, you have to be willing to walk away from the table, including the fact you're negotiating with Tesco's how much the $1.99 Mars bar you're buying should cost.
Jesus Christ, you had 3 years to fucking prepare for something, and this is what you come up with.
Well, we haven't been preparing, have we, really? We've been stalling.
Look, we've got a prime minister who knows less than the guy before the last girl did, but when he made the demands to Europe in the first place.
Well, the thing is, Theresa May came up with a deal, and the same people who say we can come up with a deal voted against their deal. Because they thought they could get up with a better deal. And the better deal for them is, of course, no deal. They think it's a clean break. A bit like, say, a car breaking clean from the road.
And the funny thing is, most EU countries, they're, publicly owned companies, transport, fuel, all this stuff, they own most of the UK's infrastructure. So,
Mate, that's an argument you should be having with Labour voters.
I mean, the fact that Deutsche Bahn had to bail out parts of a British
Thomas
company, I
Cook.
believe.
Thomas Cook, it was their subsidiary Condor Airlines.
Yeah.
Who got their money from the German government?
Yeah, but we can't do that because we don't have the same rules. There's something to do with insuring the planes so they can still fly. So instead of basically giving them money to fly the people back, we have to fork out loads more money for other airlines to fly them back. There you go.
Yep, 600 million.
I still find it ironic that a German government had to bail out a British company. It's like,
Why?
Where's the irony?
no, the irony.
Who owns most of the postal service? The Dutch government.
Yeah, and who owns most of the railway service? The Germans.
Yeah.
Like literally, you just all the EU has to do when you leave and you keep pissing us off is just shut down your entire infrastructure. Good luck getting around.
My local water company is owned by the National French Water Company.
Well, I mean, you know, a couple of decades ago, they were probably bombing the same area.
My daddy died for that flag.
So much pride in our country, we sold it.
Yeah. The only pride the UK has left is the participation trophy of World War II.
The worrying thing is that nobody can really say that so much these days. Like, you know, in about 20 years when somebody's sort of like talking about dying for the flag. My daddy, well, he didn't die. He killed about 1,500 people for that flag. He can tell you.
Yeah, every single time I hear the UK mention, well, the Brexiteers mention World War II, I'm like thinking, would you really like to be bombed? Just your entire town where you live, just bombed, to know what it's like. Would you like that? Because you keep mentioning the bombing. It's like, should we do that? Should we just...
Not particularly, but I reckon there's a group of people who would.
And then the entire town hates them, basically.
Well, no, they're the popular ones.
Man, this fucking romanticization of World War II is just really stupid. It's like people died in that war. There were concentration camps, and you guys think it was the best fucking thing in the world. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you people?
Everybody likes it when their team wins. That's why. It's an innate trait behind every human being. It's like, look at the girl who won the U.S. World Open in Canada, right? It's like all of a sudden I start giving a shit about tennis and I start paying attention to it because it was a fellow Canadian who happens to have a Romanian last name who won the fucking World Cup.
Pascal, this isn't tennis. This is World War II we're talking about.
It's the same shit, dude. Trust me.
Pascal's right on this one. My team, my football club, my flag, my country, my people, my skin colour, my eye colour.
My Yorkshire.
People are very, very quick to grab hold of any victory and trophy that they're, well, what they can consider their team to be has won, and yet when it comes to failure, they're very quick to dismiss it.
You think I gave a shit about Serena Williams when she was like fucking giving champions left, right, and center, getting championships left, right, and center? No. I didn't care that like her serve is probably the most ridiculously powerful thing in like tennis history, and being faced with it would just like make me shit my pants. And here's this little girl who's, you know, returning it and ends up beating her eventually. It took a lot of time to do that in order to be able to do that.
Are you talking about beating a woman, did you say?
No, I'm talking about tennis.
Tennis? Beating somebody at tennis?
Tennis is surprisingly a really difficult sport to play.
If you suck at tennis, yeah.
Well, the physics behind it, in order to get a consistent serve, is probably a lot harder than getting consistent golf swing.
Practice, 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 practice.
Sure.
No, honestly, I used to play tennis for years. It's all about, technique, yes, but putting that technique into practice over and over and over again, you need muscle memory.
Well, there's muscle memory, and then there's being able to return the serve from Serena Williams.
Well, yeah, and muscle memory is what it's about. These people are like robots. They don't really so much think about what they're doing unless they've had a moment of time to have that chance. Most of the time, it's just, have you ever seen sort of like the doubles? There's no way anyone's thinking about what's going on there. They're like just the ball goes that way. They twitch virtually,
Mm-hmm. Well, Serena Williams' serve, like, consistently is probably 155.
Unless she's pissed off.
That's why she botched the initial serve, because she's just trying to get that much power through. And the window that people have to serve at, like the gap that you have to hit is like, what's a Star Wars reference? Like, the blowing up the Death Star. It's 1 in a million.
Yes, we get it. You like women that are bigger and stronger than 2/3 of the men on the planet.
No, I just
likes big butt girls. That's what's going on here.
I was just surprised that there was that much depth behind it, and it's something that I learned.
You could park a bike in that.
After the fact.
No. Pascal is clearly all about the shoulders.
It's a very convoluted way to talk about the booty dude, but we get you.
I mean, if you want to go on to staying on the tennis analogy, Andy Murray, when he was winning, he's British, but now he's losing. He's Scottish.
Oh, really? Huh. Yeah.
Yep. Example of nationalism in tennis.
Well, it's any sport. If it's a Welsh team, if they're winning, they're British. If he's losing, like, is it Ian Woosnam, the golfer? Gosh, Welsh now. Rory McIlroy, the golfer.
Okay, old man, what you're doing now is you're talking about really old things that none of the kids understand from here or America.
No,
okay, so it's just you on your own, staring at the fire now.
Rory McIlroy's still present day.
Oh my God, none of these people care.
Look, if you're going to do it, turn and go Germany with the Football World Cup. They presented an amazing team that came in and just stormed the cup. It was all about the English team. Then when Germany was taken over as the front runner for the World Cup, suddenly England was European.
Let's ask the 500 people that are watching right now. Would you like to have us continue this conversation about sport, which is something that I barely know anything about?
I don't even know why we're here, to be honest. Is it my fault? It could have been my fault. I'll take the blame if it just means something.
Tennis?
Pascal, it's your fucking fault. You motherfucker, you're banned.
I wanted to give some credit where credit was due.
To tennis players, just out of the blue.
He wanted to lecture at Serena Williams' bum.
Because I was making an analogy between sports, because everybody knows how fervorous like sports fans are. Like they'll start turning over like fucking a city and like burning it to the ground whenever their sports team wins.
That's mostly the English fans.
Oh, the Italians.
Oh no! It happens here in Canada too, buddy. I think it's a global phenomenon.
Dara says we should talk about cats.
I'm not a cat person, I have a dog.
I'm quite worried about my cat. He's being extremely affectionate.
I love Seb's dog. Seb's dog is a really awesome dog. I don't know what breed it is.
German Pointer.
German Pointer?
Yes.
I thought it was a mutt.
No, Hader's a German Pointer. The big black fluffy dog I showed you was a working stock French poodle and chocolate Labrador.
Dude, that makes sense. Stop inbreeding your dogs, guys. It's bad for them.
And your positions.
But the little legs are so cute. I love to have a dog that can't actually walk without a handbag.
feel I've got such an adorable dog. She's completely insane and likes to stick her head in other dogs' mouths.
Look at it. Look at its huge head on its tiny, tiny little body that can hardly hold it up.
What was
Doesn't it look adorable and terrified?
Sophane has like these little Pomeranians, and he's like, oh, when they have like breathing problems and they're just on the bed, I feel so sad. And I'm like, in my head, it's like, well, why the hell did you get a fucking Pomeranian?
Hey, don't knock Johnny Rotten.
But I don't say anything because, you know, I don't want to upset the guy.
What are you talking about? What do you think it's unmasculine to have a Pomeranian? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think it's unmasculine. I think
what's the problem here?
I don't think you should get purebreds.
You shouldn't get purebreds.
Correct.
That's what you're going with.
Are you some kind of leftist cuck?
No,
you just no. Is this why you're speaking about tennis? Because you really want a black girlfriend to end the white race?
No, because I'm French Canadian and I didn't grow up around black people. I'm not attracted to black women.
He wants a poodle.
I'm actually racist in that.
They're really exotic and everything.
He wants a labradoodle.
Dude, like
So that's why you like her, because she's big enough to rape you.
Here's the thing. I love the symmetry of a black woman. I love their soft skin, but I can never love them as somebody who's fully integrated within multiculturalism could love them.
You don't want them to breed, is that what you're saying?
That's my failing. No, I do. Hell, I would raise a harem if it would, like, you know, piss off the alt-right, and if I had the money.
That's the spirit. That's the sort of motivation that you need in life. Spite.
Yeah, he is descended from the English.
All right, ladies, who wants a baby?
That chat up line must have worked for you so little.
Are you single?
Yep.
Yes.
Hello, would you like to come here often?
If I said you had a beautiful body, would you?
Oh
want it
no,
against me?
please.
Yes, let's really go down.
Jesus Christ.
You can use that one, Pascal. It's
that's
a guaranteed.
awful. No,
That
it's
one
guaranteed nothing.
Restraining order?
Yeah.
No, my latest pickup line would have to do with the girl who's
what do you mean latest?
Yeah,
Is there some sort of? Is there
Here we
some
go.
sort of? You've got some sort of list here that is in chronological order or something.
No,
What's going on here? Have you got like an album with that you keep your chat up lines in? Why is this recorded as latest? Why are you chat up lining?
It's stuff that I come up with every once in a while.
Oh no. Oh,
'Cause, like,
he's coming
I
up with
was-
it himself. This is. Carry on. Let's see
Looking
how
at-
bad this is.
Because Seb's dog, I'm totally, like, you know, bonkers for.
You want to have sex with Seb's dog?
No, and here's
thinking.
where
That was a bit
let me
defensive,
let me
isn't it? It's like,
segue.
no, it's like, well, what do
So
you
when
mean?
you see like a girl and she's walking her dog, and you know,
woman,
it's
sir. You're not
it's-
supposed to
lady.
be looking at
A
girls.
lady.
Yeah, if you're looking at girls, we're in a really difficult place here at this point.
okay. Well, look, I'm an old guy, and I don't want, you know.
Oh God, you're an old guy looking at girls. Ah!
That's
I
even
don't
worse.
want
What next? You're going to say you're an anime
And
fan?
you've got those really little glasses on right now, so I'm really freaked out.
Anybody who's like younger than 30, I consider a girl. So you see a girl, and you see her walking her dog, and you just, you know, go
From
up and
behind
you
the hedge,
instead of
in the shadows.
With your long Mac on.
instead of
Hello, little
talking to them and, you know, striking up a conversation, strike up a conversation with their dog. You just go up to the little dog and you go, hey, you know what, how about we go, you know, have a play date sometime, and you can go
To
to
her dog.
Yeah, exactly. We
Alright.
can go to the park, and like I can throw you something and you bring it back, and I throw you the thing and you bring it back, and I can throw you the thing, you can bring it back, and then maybe I can give you pets, or not.
Yeah, but surely she'd be looking at you kind of going, dude, that's what I do with my dog. We don't need you. You're not bringing anything extra to the table here, bud, except getting in my way while I walk my dog.
Then I'd be like, you know,
Please stay away from me before I call the police.
I'm just trying to give your dog options.
Sir,
Okay.
I said
If
no.
you accept the autonomy of
Right, dude, if you're going to carry on with this, I'm just going to call the cops right now.
Officer,
Okay,
this
fine,
man's
go
harassing
ahead.
my
Call the
dog.
cops.
Officer, this man
how
won't
about-
leave me alone.
How about you call the cops and then we let the dog decide who they want to come home with, okay?
That's how every time you talk to a woman has ended up, isn't it? Really.
Pascal, why don't you just
Yeah.
give it some bickies?
Why didn't we ask the dog what he wants? It's like, oh god. and she goes, it's a she actually.
Even better, bestiality. No!
That's why I use gender neutral pronouns.
I prefer
okay?
to call it bestiality, really, because bestiality, it's like, it's like, I want that to kind of come back as sort of like, imagine sort of, you've, it's best friend love.
It's not like I'm gonna flip her dog over and then I'm gonna look to see what.
Whoa, dude, wait, me.
That's a bit forward. I mean, if you're going to do that, you should at least have a treat in your pocket so you can go sit down, roll.
No. He doesn't want to get anything.
I'm gonna have to have like one of those
pockets.
5-second sort of, those, so I can put in the beeps before this comes through. I'm afraid.
No, you
I
don't.
bet you prefer stroking female dogs to male dogs. 'Cause you can roll them over and instead of ticking their belly, play
Hey,
with all
look,
six
if we want to
nipples.
talk about this thing, go to Aiden Paladin's channel. That's what it's for.
Well, you're not wrong.
Does she still have a channel?
She's taking the word dog lover to a whole different scale.
Oh no, please.
That's what he said.
And a little bit of sick just went in.
That's what the dog said.
Do you buy dogs bathwater then?
No.
There's got to be someone selling their dogs bathwater, and if not, why not?
No, I miss my dog, guys. I had a little dog.
Whoa!
Well, get another one. Don't
We've been
pick
talking about
somebody
dog
else's.
fucking, and now you're like, I miss my dog.
There will never
I
be-
am out. Back in a moment.
I am not.
This is what happens when he gets drunk.
I'm not the person who will take advantage of another pet.
Sorry, you've just said you were going to use the dog as somebody's chat-up line.
Wait. So it's
Hi,
like
yeah.
shaking
Hi,
your dog.
babes. Can I
but not
come
Okay.
stroke your
look.
poodle? And that is
On
an
it-
euphemism.
Honestly, like if it was like a choice between their dog and the girl, I'd probably go with the dog and play date in the park.
Hi, babes. Can I stroke your chihuahua? No, I don't mean that as a euphemism.
Because who needs like more complication in their life, right?
God, what's in your beer?
Nothing.
Have you got? I know cannabis is legal over there now. Are you drinking and smoking?
That's just some
Um,
hair of dog.
No, I got some Labatt Blue.
Labatt's, that's awful.
It works.
Well, yeah, I mean, eventually. It's about % proof, or have they now got it up to 4? Used to be really weak.
What year were you in our country? It's 5 across the board.
1985, I think.
Fucking
Last
lightweights,
millennium.
man.
We used to order jugs, which held 4 pints, and we'd drink four jugs each a night and wonder why we were still sober, until we found out the strength of the Canadian beer. So we used to go at the shooter's bar, and one person would order the drink, and then everybody else had to guess what was in it, and if you guessed, then you didn't have to pay for the next round. That's how sad we were.
Oh, that's why I started off kind of like really tanked. It's because I have 710 milliliters here of Molson, so that's probably like about 3 beers worth that I hit down very short.
Molson's is better. Is that 5% as well?
Yeah. It's all pretty much 5% until you get to 5.5.
Because I'm just trying to think. What's the one that sponsors the American football that's now brought out a premium or platinum lager?
The worst that will really like, and ironically, is called La Fin du Monde, which is French for the end of the world. It's 9%, and they come in packs of 4. I once decided to binge on the 4 bottles of beer. I probably had the worst hangover I ever had in my entire life the next day.
Nothing wrong with that.
Bar none.
It was bottles of Grolsch for us.
It comes from a company in Quebec called Unibrew, which is not to be confused with Unibrow.
Let me just break the silence. Is it time to go home then?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it
Is
is.
Pascal too hammered now? Is he gone?
No, I'm still here, dude.
Oh, he's still here.
Last orders, folks. Finish drinks.
I don't know why he's still here. You really should have gone after talking about shagging dogs.
Yeah, I mean, we've really sort of ended the house on a high note.
I miss.
I'm ashamed of myself for
Having
really leaving this on
around.
for this long.
And they just sort of look at you kind of stupid. And then you're like, it's okay. I know you're dumb.
Now
And then
bend
you take-
over.
Yeah, I think it's time to get Pascal home. So let's finish drinks, guys. Let's go. Okay. Sorry, John. He's fine. He's fine. Come on, Pascal. Let's get out of here. All right. Let's do this. No, watch your step, mate. Watch your step. Watch out.